Chapter 49. His gaze was sharp. With the four of them attacking at the same time, the difference in combat strength was doubled. In a split second, the four of them suppressed the two of them to the ground. Even the ripples from the battle were pitifully small, and the outcome was already decided. 300 million. As Lin Yu's voice fell, everyone saw 300 million glory bot falling into the dragon's mouth. As soon as Lin Yu's voice fell, he kept the huge egg into his storage ring. Then, he looked at Ling Feng coldly. Now, it's your turn. Ling Feng's back was already drenched. Why? Why did they have time to attack? He didn't believe that the unpredictable attacks of two Transcendent Realm experts would be stopped so easily. Moreover, the four of them reacted at the same time. The four people brought by Qin Wunyan seemed to have been prepared. They waited for his two guardians to attack before suppressing them. The dead don't need to know so much. Lin Yu walked closer to Ling Feng. It's over. There's really 300 million. Ling Feng is finished. Not necessarily. Who in the North Territory Star Domain dares to kill the Lingtian Palace's young master so openly? Are they tired of living? That's true. Ling Feng knew that no one dared to touch him. That's why he gambled his life without fear. If Lin Yu lost, I guess he would be a corpse by now. Ling Feng took a few steps back. He Dao and Zhang Balian smiled faintly. They stood up and stood in front of Lin Yu. He Dao smiled at Lin Yu and said, "My friend, the farce is over. Let's forgive and forget." Zhang Balian also echoed, "You offended the Lingtian Palace today. As long as you kneel down and admit your mistake, maybe young Master Ling will let you go. This matter won't get out of hand." The two of them were aware of the Lingtian Palace's strength, especially in the Night King City. They also noticed that the Night King City's elder-level figures appeared beside Yi Mingyue. It was obvious that they wanted to protect Ling Feng. In other words, no one could touch Ling Feng now. They didn't really want to help Ling Feng. Under such circumstances, they were happy to let Ling Feng owe them a favor for saving his life. Zhang Balian and He Dao looked at each other and guessed each other's thoughts. However, Lin Yu did not even look at them. He only said coldly, "If you want to die, continue to block me." The two of them thought that Lin Yu would retreat in the face of difficulties. Now that they had regained their senses, they thought that they had misheard. "Friend, a wise man submits to circumstances." He Dao's expression was cold. But in the next moment, he saw four Transcendent Realm experts blocking his path. They were Qin Wunyan's men. Lin Yu walked past the two of them, but they didn't dare to make a sound. "Are you serious?" Sensing Lin Yu's ice-cold killing intent, the two of them broke out in cold sweat. "You! A mere first ignition chakra, it's you who's going to die, not me." Ling Feng's Yaoqi exploded, but he realized that his face was being pressed down by a hand. Fast, so fast that he couldn't even react. Ling Feng's entire body flipped backward, and his head was directly pressed to the ground by that hand. With a bang, the array on the ground trembled, and Ling Feng's blood flowed out. You're a combat cultivator?" He clearly felt that the strength of Lin Yu's combat physique wasn't something he could contend against. At this moment, his spiritual sense was pierced, and he couldn't even resist. "Not only are you a combat cultivator, but you're also a divine cultivator." Ling Feng's eyes that peeked out from the gaps between his fingers were finally filled with fear. "No, don't kill me. I can give you anything you want." Lin Yu smiled faintly and didn't say anything. However, his palm exerted more force. Xinghe swallowed his saliva. Miss Yi Mingyue shook her head. In the next moment, the sound of a head exploding could be heard. Lin Yu had already stood up. He raised his hand and said calmly, "Handkerchief." Everyone was so frightened that they didn't dare to make a sound. Even if they had never seen someone kill someone, it was their first time seeing Lin Yu being so calm after killing someone. He was so calm that it was as if he had just killed an ant. Is Ling Feng really dead? He can't be more dead. Oh my God, where did he come from? Luo Shui came back to her senses and immediately took out a handkerchief and ran over to Lin Yu. It's over, it's over. You killed young master. The Heaven Ascension Palace won't let you go. Sect Master will be back soon. Just you wait. Ling Feng's two protectors roared. However, Lin Yu was carefully wiping his hands, but he suddenly stopped and sighed. Forget it. I'm going to dirty them again. His eyes were as calm as water. A sword light swept across Ling Feng's storage ring. Their cultivation was suppressed. The moment they saw the sword light, they suddenly felt an unprecedented life-or-death crisis. However, it was already too late when they wanted to retreat. So fast. What's that? I couldn't see what he did at all. Even Xinghe and the others were solemn. Qin Wunyan was shocked by Lin Yu again. He didn't expect Lin Yu's attainments in Sword Dao to be so powerful. Even if their cultivation wasn't sealed, he believed that they wouldn't be able to dodge his attack at such a close distance. The hibernation sword's blade was too thin. Only with extreme speed could it unleash the sharpest sword qi. Lin Yu had obviously achieved this. One could imagine how terrifying his sword Dao was to be able to kill two Nirvana experts instantly. Elder Xinghe, did you see that? Yi Mingyu's breathing was rapid. Seeing that Xinghe was stunned, she continued, even if you attacked just now, you wouldn't have been able to stop him. The sword qi dissipated in an instant. Lin Yu slowly lowered his hand. The hibernation sword had already disappeared. Is there anyone else who wants to bet with me? The entire place was dead silent. Lin Yu's voice echoed, but no one dared to answer. After a long time, Lin Yu wiped his hands clean and returned the handkerchief to Luo Shui. I'm sorry for dirtying it. Luo Shui's chest heaved up and down. It's good that young master is fine. Lin Yu nodded and smiled. He still had the appearance of a sunny young man. But it was this young man who had scared everyone to the point that they didn't dare to move. Congratulations, young Master Lin. Yi Mingwei bowed and broke the silence. Then, she said to the people who were standing at the edge of the auction hall who were scared silly. Young Master Lin has already obtained the last treasure. Today's auction is over. Everyone, please leave. As the owner of this place, Yi Mingyu had the right to say this. Lin Yu smiled faintly and didn't refute Yi Mingyu's actions. Brother Qin, I'm sorry. Lin Yu said to Qin Wunyan. Qin Wunyan sighed. The Heaven Ascension Palace will bring trouble. Brother Lin, are you prepared to deal with it? Lin Yu didn't answer directly. Instead, he looked at Yi Mingyu on the stage. Night King City will solve this matter for me. Before Yi Mingyu could react, Lin Yu and Qin Wunyan had already left the auction venue. Xinghe immediately came up. Miss, this brat, what does this brat mean? Chapter 50. There was a trace of worry in Yi Mingyu's beautiful eyes. He wants to see father tomorrow. Could it be that the Night King will stand up for this kid? Xinghe's old face was full of doubts. Yi Mingyu looked at the corpses of Ling Feng and the two Transcendent Realm Guardians and sighed. Today, the Lingtian Palace has lost an arm. Her beautiful eyes flashed and she said, Elder, please clean up this place. As for the rest, wait for father to come out tomorrow. There will naturally be a solution. Xinghe and the others nodded. Now that Ling Feng was dead, the Lingtian Palace would soon receive the news and come. They couldn't solve this matter, so they could only wait for the Night King to solve it personally. At this moment, in the North Territory starfield, within two huge sects, there were roars at the same time. My son? Who is so daring to kill my son? When this person's voice came out, the vast land of the Lingtian Palace suddenly trembled. At the same time, in a place further away from the Night King City, in the Thundercloud sect's main hall, an old man also suddenly opened his eyes. Below the main hall, the Thundercloud sect people who accompanied Lei Zong outside the Night King City all knelt on the ground, and no one dared to raise their heads. Order the entire sect to send troops to the Night King City. The old man's eyes were murderous. The scorching desert is about to open, and my son died in the Night King city. What a great Jun Wushang, Zong. Your father will avenge you immediately. In the Night King city. Lin Yu bowed to Qin Wunyan. I'm afraid there will be a fierce battle next. If Brother Qin has nothing else, you can leave first. Qin Wunyan knew that Lin Yu didn't want to implicate him. He shook his head and smiled. Brother Lin, did you forget that you asked me to meet you in the reception hall tomorrow to tell me the shortcomings of the 5 elements great array? Are you trying to brush me off now? Lin Yu patted his head. I almost forgot. In that case, I will tell you now. No. Qin Wunyan raised his right hand and said, Let's listen to it together with the Night King tomorrow. Lin Yu smiled gently. He knew Qin Wunyan's thoughts. Before he spoke, Qin Wunyan had already left. You have a good eye, young Master Wunyan is indeed a good friend, Luo Shui said. Lin Yu chuckled, and the two of them brought Shan back to the guest hall. Along the way, the passers-by also avoided Lin Yu when they saw him. I heard that this person killed Lei Zong of Lightning Cloud Sect and Ling Feng of Heaven Ascension Palace. So ruthless? Then isn't he a dead man now? Yes, the young masters of 2 major sects died in his hands. This person must have eaten a bear's heart and leopard's guts. I'm afraid he won't live for more than 3 days. 3 days. The Lightning Cloud Sect and Heaven Ascension Hall are only a day and a half away from here. If they rush over at full speed, they might arrive tomorrow afternoon. It's over. If the 2 sects start a war with us, won't we be affected as well? Many people looked at Lin Yu with pity, and some even looked at him with hatred. They were afraid that Lin Yu would bring war to Night King City. But none of these people dared to take the initiative to find trouble with Lin Yu. After all, the rumors about Lin Yu had described him as a killing god. Young master. Luo Shui looked at Lin Yu worriedly. Even when they entered the guest hall, the guards belonging to Night King City were already eyeing Lin Yu covetously. This was within Lin Yu's expectations. Go and rest. Lin Yu chuckled and sent Luo Shui and Shan away. Lin Yu returned to his room and looked up to estimate the height of the guest hall. Fortunately, this was the highest place in Night King City. Lin Yu's room was at least 3 feet high. He took out the 2 feet high giant egg from his storage ring and smiled. Tonight's spoils of war. Lin Yu raised his right hand and placed it on the egg. Jump out of the 3 realms, not in the 5 elements, all things in the world, race extermination, same as the heavens. Rumble. A violent tremor erupted from the egg. The sound was extremely loud. Following that, a second and a third tremor came out one after another. Lin Yu's lips curled up. This vibration was like a heartbeat. It was indeed what he was looking for. Before you take shape, identify your master first. Lin Yu bit his finger and directly drew blood on the eggshell. These bloodstains connected together shockingly formed an incomparably complex rune. Lin Yu finished this and stopped. The rune flashed with scarlet light and instantly merged with the eggshell. In the guest hall, outside Lin Yu's room, a voice was quietly standing outside the door, secretly peeking through the window. When the blood rune merged with the eggshell, the person's breathing became rapid. Lin Yu stared at the eggshell. The originally white eggshell, when the blood rune merged with the eggshell, suddenly changed colors. Purple, blue, black, red. More and more colors were constantly changing. Looks like my luck is not bad, 9-colored egg. When the colors stopped increasing, Lin Yu immediately put away the 9-colored egg. Outside the door, the person was about to leave, but suddenly Lin Yu's hand turned into a claw. In just an instant, the soul-devouring power exploded. The person's footsteps paused, knowing that his divine consciousness was locked by Lin Yu. Shocked, he simply rushed into the room. With a whoosh, the person who was originally dressed in black turned into a black shadow and directly attacked Lin Yu, using both hands and feet, extremely fast. This was within Lin Yu's expectations. With a wave of his hand, he dodged the other party's attack and took half a step back. The black-robed person's figure was curvaceous. She raised her long leg and swept it down in the air. A wave of Yao Qi swept out, and the surrounding tables and chairs were directly blown into the air and shattered inch by inch. Lin Yu instantly raised his right hand and locked his fingers on the other party's ankle at lightning speed. The black-robed man paused as he realized that Lin Yu's hand was extraordinarily powerful. In fact, Lin Yu's combat body was comparable to a samsara stage expert's. The black-robed person sensed that something was wrong and immediately retracted her leg, only to realize that Lin Yu had seized the opportunity to press down on her. The black-robed person took a few steps back and suddenly felt a sharp pain in her divine consciousness. By the time she came back to her senses, she could no longer dodge and was pushed against the wall. At the same time, her right leg was directly pressed against her body by Lin Yu. The next moment, she heard Lin Yu's scorching breathing. "Miss Yi, are you looking for a man in the middle of the night to steal him away?" "You. How do you know it's me?" Yi Mingyue's breathing quickened. Just as she wanted to break free, she realized that she was tightly pressed against Lin Yu. Any small movement could cause her and Lin Yu's clothes to rub against each other. "It's very soft. Miss Yi, are you offering yourself to me?" Yi Mingyue knew that she could not break free, and her face gradually turned red. She felt lucky that she had a piece of black cloth covering her face. However, Lin Yu's hand suddenly pulled over and the cloth covering her face fell. Yi Mingyue's peerless face was less than half a foot away from Lin Yu. She was completely exposed. Chapter 51. Let me go. Yi Mingyue twisted her body. Lin Yu let go of her and stood with his hands behind his back. "Speak." Yi Mingyue calmed herself down after regaining her freedom. "I didn't expect young noble Lin to be so strong. You're peeking at me in the middle of the night. Don't tell me you're just here to learn from me?" Yi Mingyue's eyes narrowed as she felt that Lin Yu was unfathomable. "I'm just worried about how young noble Lin will deal with the trouble you caused." "Deal?" Lin Yu smiled. "Just 2 second-rate sects, why would I need to deal with them?" This was the first time Yi Mingyue had heard someone call the Lightning Cloud sect and Sky Rising Palace second-rate sect. Just how arrogant was this guy? She was only thinking about it in her heart, but her mouth was probing. "It looks like young noble Lin has already thought of a way?" Yi Mingyue's words and actions were all within Lin Yu's expectations. Lin Yu sat back on the only chair that was still intact. "Night King City should take responsibility for the trouble I caused. There's no need to think of a way." "You!" Yi Mingyue's face was slightly angry. "Why?" Lin Yu poured a cup of tea and took a sip. "Because Miss Yi came to find me tonight because you know that the Night King City will be responsible for this matter. I can push you out to atone for Lei Long and Keeper Ling." Yi Mingyue's face was slightly angry. "Then Miss Yi can leave. Lin Yu's life has nothing to do with you." Lin Yu raised his hand to send her off. "You." Yi Mingyue's breathing sped up as she stood in front of Lin Yu and snatched the tea from his hand. "You still have the mood to drink tea? Do you know that you're in danger?" Lin Yu smiled. "And then?" "And then I want to save you." Yi Mingyue's expression was serious. Lin Yu couldn't help but laugh. "Ling Feng is dead, but Miss Yi doesn't care at all. Instead, you came to find me, the murderer. It looks like Miss Ye's heart changes quickly." "I never liked him," Yi Mingyue explained subconsciously. However, the moment the words left her mouth, she wondered why she was in such a hurry to explain to Lin Yu. Lin Yu smiled. He stood up and approached Yi Mingyue again. "If Miss Yi doesn't like Ling Feng, then who do you like?" He leaned very close. Yi Mingyue didn't know why she didn't back away, but she could even hear her heartbeat. "What does it have to do with young Master Lin?" It was Yi Mingyue's first time being threatened by a man. Lin Yu was taller than her. Yi Mingyu raised her head and looked into Lin Yu's eyes. She seemed to have done something wrong. The moment she met Lin Yu's sharp eyes, she immediately lowered her head. "If there's really nothing between us, you wouldn't have come looking for me." Lin Yu smiled gently. Lin Yu still needs Miss Ye's support for what I'm going to do next. If Miss Ye's matter has nothing to do with me, then please leave. Night King City can deal with Lin Yu and Lei sect as it should. You bastard! Yi Mingyue bit her lower lip and her cheeks turned red. She hid her hands behind her back and twisted them into a ball. She felt like her heart was in a war. After a long while, she took a deep breath. I don't like you being nice to other women. Seeing you being nice to Luo Shui and ignoring me, I don't feel good. Because, I like you. When Yi Mingyu said this, she didn't dare to look at Lin Yu at all. She closed her eyes tightly and lowered her head, burying it in Lin Yu's strong chest. Lin Yu understands Miss Ye's feelings. Lin Yu smiled gently. He raised his right hand and lifted Yi Mingyue's thin chin and looked into her eyes. Everything is within Lin Yu's expectations. When the Night King comes out tomorrow, we will report to him as it is. Yi Mingyue's face froze. Lin Yu didn't respond to her feelings. Now, she was even more confused. This guy, after her confession, didn't even respond to her whether he liked her or not. Stay with me tonight, Lin Yu suddenly said. Yi Mingyue's heart skipped a beat. Before she could react, Lin Yu had already lifted her up and laid her gently on the bed. Lin Yu covered her with the blanket and shared the bed. Yi Mingyue was so nervous that she couldn't speak. She had seen too many large sects and had handled too many sect-level transactions. However, in Yi Mingyue's opinion, none of the problems in the past could make her more nervous than Lin Yu tonight. Yi Mingyue knew what was going to happen next, but she didn't expect things to progress so quickly. She only met Lin Yu today. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. What Yi Mingyue imagined didn't happen. She turned her head and saw that Lin Yu had already closed his eyes. His breathing was steady. He was obviously asleep. Her hand was still held by him, but Lin Yu didn't do anything to hurt her. Yi Mingyue didn't know why, but her nervous heart calmed down when she saw Lin Yu's breathing. She carefully looked at the young man who was lying next to her. His delicate features were as if they had been carved out by a knife. Now that his eyes were closed, they were even more distinct and handsome. But what Yi Mingyue liked the most was the light Lin Yu emitted when he woke up. It was a light that could see through everything in the world. It was a light that was full of confidence and sincerity. It was as if nothing could be hidden from his eyes. It was as if Yi Mingyue's heart was revealed to him. You purposely forced me to say it. You're a bad guy. The night was blurry. Lin Yu had fallen asleep, and Yi Mingyue couldn't bear to leave him. The two of them fell into a deep sleep. The room was filled with fragrance and emotions. When the sunlight shone through the window, the huge room was lit up again. Lin Yu slowly opened his eyes and took a deep breath of the morning air. He instantly felt refreshed. His current state was much better than a few days ago. Lin Yu knew that he was only 100 years away from reaching the samsara stage with his spiritual will. When the three elements become one state, even an ordinary transcendent realm opponent wouldn't be his opponent. Mr. Lin, you're awake? Yi Mingyue's lazy voice sounded. Lin Yu looked at Yi Mingyue from the corner of his eye. Yi Mingyue was sitting by the bed and looking at him with her bright eyes. Now that you're done, you'll be braver to face me? Lin Yu's words made Yi Mingyue's heart skip a beat. She had indeed woken up early, but she didn't want to leave just like that. Otherwise, she wouldn't be able to raise her head in front of Lin Yu in the future. She might even be labeled as a coward. If Lin Yu used this to mock her in the future, Yi Mingyue would feel like killing herself when she thought of this. Hence, she dressed herself up neatly in the morning. She was in her most beautiful state. She mustered her courage and waited for Lin Yu to wake up. Who knew that Lin Yu's first sentence would make her break down? Just when Yi Mingyue didn't know what to do, Lin Yu's warm hands held onto her. Help me with something. All right. Yi Mingyue agreed without hesitation. She shyly lowered her head and nodded lightly. Chapter 52. Lin Yu's lips curled up. He knew Yi Mingyue's personality very well. In the past 100,000 years, He had experienced Yi Mingyu's true gentleness. But last night, he didn't revisit the place. He wanted to preserve the purest feelings. After all, Lin Yu knew he had many things to do. I need some materials for refining. Help me find them. Lin Yu sat up and walked to the table. He took out a brush and ink from his storage ring and wrote down a list of materials. Yi Mingyu took a look and nodded. Night King City has all of these. I'll go get them for you. Lin Yu smiled. Yi Mingyu had already walked out of the room. He didn't know if she wanted to leave to avoid the awkwardness or if she was in a hurry to do something for Lin Yu. When you bring the materials, ask Elder Xing He to come. Lin Yu replied politely. Yi Mingyu didn't hesitate and nodded. Even if Lin Yu wanted to see the third most powerful person in Night King City, Yi Mingyu still didn't hesitate to bring Xing He over. The room returned to normal. Lin Yu took out the first item he bought yesterday from his storage ring. It was a black metal piece, only the size of his palm. It's a pity that good things rust and become worthless. Lin Yu gently waved his hand, and a black flame burned on the iron plate. Soon, the rust on the iron plate fell off, and in the blink of an eye, an incomparably sparkling and translucent jade fell into Lin Yu's hand. A good material for a spirit weapon. The quality is not bad. Lin Yu put away the jade and walked out of the room. He saw Luo Shui and Shan Er coming back. Shan Er ran over and smiled happily. Big brother, where are we going to play today? Didn't you just come back? Big brother has a lot of things to do. Then when Big brother has time, take me out to play. Shan Er stuck out her tongue. Lin Yu nodded. Luo Shui immediately came over and picked up Shan Er. Young master, let's continue. Before she finished, Lin Yu already knew that Luo Shui wanted to talk about the Lei and Ling sects. What's the situation outside? Luo Shui answered honestly. The people of the Night King City are very conflicted about young master killing Ling Feng, and also about Lei Zong. She hesitated for a moment, not daring to hide it from Lin Yu. The people from Flying Cloud Commerce have already left Night King City. I heard that they came looking for us after Yang Zheng's death, but were chased away by the guards. After that, young master killed Ling Feng, and the news quickly spread throughout Night King City. Flying Cloud Trade Association left in the middle of the night, as if they were afraid of being implicated. Luo Shui put down Shan Er and knelt down, bowing deeply. Young master, I'm sorry. They blamed Lei Zong's death on you. It's all because I didn't discipline them properly. Lin Yu smiled and helped Luo Shui up. I'm guessing they're heading towards the Lightning Cloud sect. Luo Shui stood up and nodded her head. Young master is right. Lin Yu shook his head as his eyes flashed like he was looking at a dead person. This is life, the life of a fool. But Lin Yu knew that he didn't misjudge Luo Shui. Although her combat strength wasn't high, after all these years, as a woman taking on the responsibility of a decaying Commerce Association president, she had already learned how to gather information and observe people's expressions. Lin Yu knew that she would be of great use in the future. Luo Shui was confused, but Lin Yu reminded her. Rest in your room today, don't wander around. He then whispered in Luo Shui's ear, Shan Er is not an ordinary child. Let her stay by your side and never leave your side. Luo Shui nodded heavily. Shui will do young master's orders even if it costs me my life. Aha! Outside the guest hall, a clear and crisp dry cough was suddenly heard. Go to my room and wait for me. Lin Yu smiled, knowing that Yi Mingyu had returned. Yi Mingyu was startled. She didn't expect Lin Yu to order her directly without any pleasantries. But that wasn't the point was that Luo Shui was still here. Yi Mingyu's face was red from anger, but her body honestly walked into Lin Yu's room. This time, it was Luo Shui's turn to be nervous. She was Miss Yi, the noblest existence in Night King City, and also a big shot in the North Starfield. Why was she so obedient to young master? And she didn't even dare to vent her anger? Luo Shui didn't dare to ask and brought Shan Er back to her room. Lin Yu turned around and reached out his hand to Yi Mingyu. Is everything ready? You. Yi Mingyu looked wronged and scolded in her heart. Are you not going to explain your relationship with Luo Shui to her? But in the end, Yi Mingyu just nodded and took out the materials that Lin Yu wanted from her storage ring. She didn't ask anything that shouldn't be asked. Lin Yu had interacted with millions of women in the past 100,000 years, so how could he not see through her thoughts? But Yi Mingyu was cute because she was smart. A smart woman knew that she shouldn't ask too much. Lin Yu nodded in appreciation. Well done. Not only was Yi Mingyu smart, but also these precious materials. Although Night King City definitely had them, Lin Yu knew that these materials were worth at least 100 million glory baht. Yi Mingyu didn't even hesitate to find them for him. This was the second reason why Lin Yu liked Yi Mingyu. These materials are used to make armor, and they require a high-level blacksmith. Yi Mingyu reminded him in annoyance. Of course, she didn't ask Lin Yu if these materials could be used by herself. But soon, Lin Yu waved his hand and all the materials flew into the air. All of a sudden, Yi Mingyu saw the nearly 30 types of forging materials ignite with black flames. What are you doing? You want to make them yourself? Yi Mingyu looked at Lin Yu in disbelief. Be careful, if you make a mistake, you might blow up the entire room. The materials were a small matter. In his heart, Lin Yu's safety was the most important thing. Before Lin Yu could say anything, Xing He came to greet him. Xing He wanted to greet him, but when he saw the materials burning, he was shocked. Young Master Lin, be careful. Xing He went up and tried to persuade Lin Yu. Without more than 10 years of preparation, it's impossible to make a complete weapon. Young Master Lin is taking too much of a risk. After saying that, he pulled Yi Mingyu back a distance. My lady, when young Master Lin blows up the materials, step back. Don't get caught in the explosion. Yi Mingyu looked troubled, but when she saw how serious Lin Yu was, she calmed down. Don't worry, Elder Xing He. I'll take a look. She thought that by staying here, if Lin Yu failed, she could still save him with the large amount of medicinal pills in her ring of holding. Lin Yu didn't seem to hear their conversation. The true sun fire kept erupting from his palm. After 5 minutes, all the materials were completely melted. How is this possible? Xing He was shocked. Rainbow black iron, southern nether flame steel, sky wood. These are all high-level materials. How can they be melted so quickly? Yi Mingyu frowned. Xing He was surprised again and again. Even a top blacksmith would need at least 3 days to melt these materials. My lady, how long did young Master Lin take? Chapter 53. He didn't come in at the beginning, so he asked. Yi Mingyu blinked. When you came in, it was just beginning. Xing He took a step back. Not even a cup of tea's worth of time? His old eyes stared at the black flames of the materials. He was old and cunning. No, it's the fire. This fire is many times hotter than normal flames. At that moment, a sparkling light flew out from Lin Yu's storage ring. Using this as a guide, refine. Lin Yu's voice rang out. Xing He and Yi Mingyu watched as the materials melted into liquid and merged together in an instant. Lin Yu bit his finger with his right hand, and a drop of blood flew into the air and merged with the 7-colored liquid of the material. Then, Lin Yu waved his hand in the air as if he was drawing something. All things are formless, form the original form. Xing He's eyes widened, and his old heart was already thumping. Miss, young Master Lin's forging skills, I'm afraid you won't be able to find another person like him in Night King City. Yi Mingyu was also shocked. She had known about Lin Yu's combat strength since yesterday, but who would have thought that not only was Lin Yu's combat strength amazing, but his profound smithing skills were also unfathomable. She knew Elder Xing He's vision. In all these years, Xing He had never been so surprised by a single person. Only Lin Yu had been able to surprise Xing He to the point of losing his composure over the past 2 days. I'll call you the indestructible profound armor. Lin Yu's voice rang out, and a gust of wind exploded in the air. Xing He and Yi Mingyue circulated their glory qi at the same time, forming a wall. With a whoosh, the two blocked the gust of wind, but the surrounding doors and windows were blown away. The two didn't have time to care about that. Instead, they stared at the sky. Where the light dissipated, a 7-colored profound armor floated there. It's refined just like that? Xing He was about to collapse. How long had it been? How could a complete treasure be refined just like that? Blacksmiths usually take months to refine. Are they lying to us? Yi Mingyue was suspicious. No, young Master Lin is too fast. Xing He shook his head and took a step closer to examine the armor. It's crystal clear. It's not copper, iron, or steel, and its grade isn't low either. Xing He turned around and bowed to Lin Yu. Young Master Lin, how long have you cultivated your smithing art? A few hundred years. Lin Yu wanted to say that, but he just smiled faintly. I only know a little. He knew that Xing He took the bait. A little. Xing He felt as if his heart had suffered a blow. He could only hear the sound of thunder in his ears. If he really believed Lin Yu, then wouldn't he have lived for so many years in vain? Young Master, I'm afraid the item you're refining has already surpassed the level of a 9th-grade weapon, right? Xing He knew that he shouldn't get to the bottom of it. Lin Yu nodded. It should be a 3rd-grade spiritual artifact. It's barely enough for now. He didn't refine the indestructible profound armor for himself, but for the puppet. He needed the puppet's transcendent realm combat power and the shocking hive sword. Only the puppet's arm strength could be like him, wielding the shocking hive sword at the fastest speed to achieve the greatest power. If combined with the indestructible profound armor's resistance, the puppet's combat power would surpass him. It would be much easier to enter the place he wanted and take Dao He's key. Spiritual artifact. He only used the time it takes to brew a cup of tea to refine a spiritual weapon? Xing He swallowed his saliva. If this item was put up for auction, it would be worth at least 200 million. Young Master Lin, can you stay in Night King City for a few more days? We can have a chance to discuss young Master Lin's forging skill. Xing He sincerely invited. However, Yi Mingyue knew what he was thinking and immediately stopped him. Elder, the forging skill belongs to young Master Lin. Xing He naturally understood. However, with such a powerful forging skill in front of him, as the great elder of Night King City, he naturally had to prioritize Night King City's interests. The forging skill can be given to Night King City, Lin Yu suddenly said. Xing He thought he heard wrong and immediately asked again, Young Master Lin, this old man is old. My ears are not good. Can you say it again? Lin Yu smiled gently. I said, I can give the forging skill to Night King City. Lin Yu didn't sound impatient at all. After Xing He heard it, he immediately bowed deeply. That's great. This old man thanks young Master Lin for his generosity on behalf of Night King City. However, what does young Master Lin want? A straightforward person didn't beat around the bush. For Elder Xing He to be able to reach his current position in Night King City, he wasn't someone easy to deal with. He naturally understood that Lin Yu had his own goals. Talking to Elder Xing He is so straightforward. Lin Yu smiled faintly and put away the immortal profound armor. Lin Yu, I only have one request. I know Elder Xing He's innate divination skill has reached perfection. I would like to ask for your help in reading my fortune. Yi Mingyue frowned and scolded Lin Yu in a low voice. Idiot, you can just tell me your fortune. There's no need to personally invite the great elder here and pay such a high price. She was referring to the forging skill. Lin Yu shook his head. Of course it wouldn't be that simple. I believe that what Elder Xinghe is helping me with is not my own fate, but the fate of the North. The North's fortune? This is a bit difficult. Xing He's heart tightened. If young Master Lin wants to read your own fortune, this old man can do it 7 or 8 times. But the North, the amount of soul, will, and glory chi required to perform innate divination to determine the fate of an entire star system was unprecedented. But Xing He saw that Lin Yu didn't continue. Being able to reach his current position, he naturally understood Lin Yu's intentions. Lin Yu had already laid out the conditions of the deal. Whether he agreed or not, the decision was naturally in his hands. This was Lin Yu's respect for the old man. Yi Mingyue didn't say anything. Xing He was thinking about the current situation in the north, especially since Night King Jun Wushang had been in seclusion for a while. In the north, Night King City was the place where glory bait gathered. Naturally, it was a fat sheep in the eyes of the major factions. However, such a fat sheep was not in a good situation right now. But if they could mass-produce the immortal profound armor like Lin Yu, it would be a qualitative change to Night King City's combat power. Xing He thought about it and finally nodded. He bowed to Lin Yu again. I hope young Master Lin can keep his promise. Lin Yu smiled and didn't say anything. He took out a pen and paper, scribbled on the paper, and handed it to Xing He. Xing He took it. Yi Mingyue saw that it was the forging technique for the immortal profound armor. It was written clearly, without leaving out any details. Xing He's impression of Lin Yu improved greatly. He shook his head apologetically. I was the one who gauged the heart of a gentleman. Young Master Lin is a true gentleman. Chapter 54. You're too kind, Elder. Lin Yu smiled. Yi Mingyue also wanted to say that Lin Yu was a gentleman. But when she remembered that the reason why she felt this way was because Lin Yu didn't do anything bad to her yesterday, she couldn't help but blush and couldn't say a word. Then I'll show you what I've got. Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue both took a few steps back. They saw Xing He take out hundreds of items from his storage ring. One of them was the most eye-catching. It was a human-shaped compass. As soon as it appeared, it floated in the air as if it had a mind of its own. Young Master Lin, how many years do you want to calculate what will happen in the North Territory? Lin Yu rubbed his chin. 1 year. Xing He heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it wouldn't take long. If it took 2 or 3 years, he would have lost his life here. Then I'll start. Gritting his teeth, Xing He raised his hands and controlled the compass to spin. The other hundreds of items, including wooden swords and talismans, flew in an orderly manner. They drew countless golden rays of light in the air and gathered in the compass. Stars move and turn, all things in the universe, stars guide the way, North Territory appear. Xing He chanted and the compass turned transparent. In an instant, all the golden rays disappeared and were replaced by the illusions of thousands of stars in the North Territory star area. This is the North Territory star area. Yi Mingyue mumbled to herself. She was also surprised. It was the first time she had seen the North Territory star area in such a state. Now, she and Lin Yu were like the supreme laws of heaven looking down on the world. They could see the entire star area. The compass vibrated slowly. Xing He felt that his energy was being consumed more and more. He didn't dare to hesitate and spun the compass. Stars guide the way, North Territory appear. Xing He shouted again. The compass vibrated violently. Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue both saw that the North Territory star area looked normal. However, they could vaguely see battleships like the one in the flying cloud chamber of commerce. However, those battleships seemed to be dozens of times faster than normal. Lin Yu stepped into the air and approached the compass. He didn't look around aimlessly like Yi Mingyue. Instead, he focused his attention on 4 places. One was the Grand Mist Continent. Lin Yu observed the future of the forgotten immortal sect. The other was the space where Night King City was located, especially the other side of Night King City. Third, Lin Yu looked at Azure Sky Shangqing Palace, which was Qin Wunyan's hometown. He knew that a bloody battle would occur there sooner or later. The last one Lin Yu looked at was the sun that was located at the border of the star fields. The moment his gaze landed on it, the sun was suddenly set ablaze by a black flame. The corners of Lin Yu's lips curled up. Knowing that everything was within his expectations, he relaxed. However, just as he was about to take a closer look at Grand Venerable Shumi, the scene in front of him suddenly shattered. Bang! Lin Yu landed on the ground, and the hundreds of items in the air fell to the ground. Lin Yu didn't care about these things. Instead, he turned around and came to Xing He's side, supporting him with one hand. At this moment, Xing He only felt that the aura in his body was extremely chaotic. There was a sweet taste in his throat, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. When he looked again, he had already fainted. Yi Mingyu jumped in fright and hurried over. Elder, what's wrong? Lin Yu took out a few stalks of medicinal herbs from his storage ring. After burning them with the Grand Sun True Fire, they turned into pure medicinal energy and merged into Xing He's body. I saw something I shouldn't have seen, so I used too much energy. It's okay, I'll be fine after a few days of rest. Hearing Lin Yu's response, he also noticed that Xing He's complexion had recovered. Yi Mingyu heaved a sigh of relief and immediately sent people to help. At this time, Qin Wunyan's voice came from outside the hall. Brother Lin, I'm here to find you. Lin Yu knew that it was about time, so he asked Yi Mingyu to send Xing He back. At the same time, he stuffed a second piece of paper into Xing He's hand. Qin Wunyan entered the guest hall and saw Xing He being carried out. Yi Mingyu, on the other hand, had a worried and red face. Brother Lin, this is? Qin Wunyan asked with great interest. Just now, his divine sense had already sensed that Xing He's life was not in danger, but for the dignified Night King City's third seat to walk out of the guest hall like this, it really piqued his interest. Lin Yu smiled helplessly. It's a long story, sit down first. He gestured for Qin Wunyan to sit down. Today, he came alone and didn't bring his protectors. To be able to do so in this unfamiliar place, it was enough to show how much he trusted Lin Yu. I told the four of them to wait for me at the inn. Today I can talk freely with Brother Lin. Lin Yu sighed. I'm afraid that when Jun Wushang arrives, it will be troublesome. So Brother Lin also fears trouble, but why do I feel that everything is within Brother Lin's expectations? You're the one who will solve the problem. Lin Yu smiled bitterly. Interesting, talking with Brother Qin is one of my few pleasures. Lin Yu thought of Elder Xing He again. Since Brother Qin asked, I'll tell you the truth. Elder Xing He was entrusted by me and divined a divination for me. Qin Wunyan touched his chin. Elder Xing He is the most powerful astrologer in Night King City. I've long heard of him, but I didn't expect Brother Lin's face to be so big that Elder Xing He personally divined for you. Now, it seems that the innate divination technique requires a lot of effort. Qin Wunyan guessed. Otherwise, Xing He wouldn't have left lying down. Lin Yu nodded. Ordinary divination doesn't require much effort for Elder Xing He. Unfortunately, Lin Yu is a troublesome person and naturally has a troublesome request. Qin Wunyan was very interested. I wonder how troublesome Brother Lin's request is? Very troublesome. Lin Yu shook his head and smiled. I want to know the fate of the North Territory in a year. Qin Wunyan didn't understand. Most people only cared about their own fate or the fate of their sect, but Lin Yu's vision was indeed bigger than he imagined. Brother Lin's heart is for the North Territory. Truly a magnanimous person. No, not only do I lack magnanimity, but I'm also very stingy. Lin Yu was naturally hinting at the fact that he killed Ling Feng and the others yesterday. However, Qin Wunyan still insisted on his good impression of Lin Yu. You didn't slaughter Heaven Ascension Palace, which proves Brother Lin's magnanimity even more. The two laughed. For someone like Qin Wunyan, even though he was young and his achievements weren't unprecedented, he was still worthy of Lin Yu's deep friendship. After all, Lin Yu knew that there weren't many interesting people in this world. Just as the two were chatting happily, outside the guest hall, the sound of a guard kneeling could be heard. How could the two not understand? The guards of the guest hall were the highest level guards in Night King City. Even if they saw Yi Mingyue and Xing He, they wouldn't kneel. Unless Night King Jun Wushang personally came. As expected, the palanquin landed, and the sound of footsteps slowly entered the guest hall. Lin Yu and Xing He stood up at the same time and bowed to the door. There, a strong middle-aged man stood with his hands behind his back and also bowed to the two. To be able to see two young heroes at once, Jun Wushang didn't come in vain. Jun Wushang was 7 feet tall. Not only did he have a strong physique, but every word of his had a strong feeling. His voice wasn't loud, but it was like thunder. And this first sentence already showed how much importance he attached to Lin Yu and Qin Wunyan. Obviously, he already knew what happened yesterday, and even just now. The three exchanged a few pleasantries. Jun Wushang stared at Lin Yu, and his eyes suddenly darkened. "Little brother Lin, do you know the trouble you've caused?" Chapter 55. Lin Yu smiled, knowing that Jun Wushang was intentionally or unintentionally releasing his pressure at this moment. But the person who can give him a show of strength has not been born yet. Lin Yu did not show any fear. Instead, he took a step forward. It seems that the Night King's seclusion to break through to the unbreakable realm is fruitless. Without the correct method, it is indeed difficult to practice the 10th level of the primeval chaos art. His voice was not loud, but it hit Jun Wushang's heart more powerfully than any previous polite words. The latter's heart tightened. Little brother Lin knows me very well, and his eyesight is also very sharp. Who doesn't know that the Night King is famous in the world? Lin used specious words. Jun Wushang obviously felt that he was lying. Little brother Lin might as well say it. Lin Yu knew that the other party was hooked and smiled. If I say that I can help the Night King break through to the unbreakable realm, I wonder if the Night King will believe me? Jun Wushang immediately frowned. How do you know that I have not broken through? A straightforward person does not speak insinuations. The Night King only needs to answer my question. Jun Wushang shook his head. I naturally do not believe, although little brother Lin has good eyesight, he is still too young. Age is not a problem. Lin Yu stretched out his hand. Night King, try it, and you will know whether what I said is true or not. Jun Wushang's face was puzzled, and even Qin Wunyan was puzzled by Lin Yu's actions. Lin Yu stretched out 2 fingers and pressed on Jun Wushang's wrist. At first, Jun Wushang thought that Lin Yu was going to take his pulse, and there was some disdain in his heart. Young people nowadays like to pretend to be mysterious, Jun Wushang thought. There were too many powerful doctors in the Night King City, and he failed to break through to the unbreakable realm 3 times. It was not a physical problem. But soon, Jun Wushang noticed that a suction force suddenly appeared on his wrist, and this suction force was only for an instant, and it spread throughout his body. When Jun Wushang still wanted to instinctively resist, he realized that the depression in his heart when he was cultivating all this time had begun to visibly reduce. The imbalance of the 3 elements is the biggest bottleneck after practicing the primeval chaos art to the top. When Lin Yu spoke again, he had already retracted his hand. If I can't break through this bottleneck, I'll never be able to enter the unyielding 9-yin realm. Jun Wushang's originally carefree feeling was abruptly interrupted. He had no time to care about Lin Yu saying that he would never be able to enter the unyielding realm in this lifetime. Instead, his face was filled with excitement. Little brother Lin, do you have a way to break it? Can you tell me? With Jun Wushang's ability and status, no one could deceive him. The only thing that could make him take the initiative to ask someone for help was the most precious thing. Lin Yu smirked. He was well aware of everyone's weaknesses. Xing He's weakness was his absolute loyalty to Night King City, so whenever he saw a forging technique, he would definitely trade with Lin Yu. Yi Mingyue's weakness was that she was used to men's flattery. Once a man who didn't care about her appeared, Yi Mingyue would pay attention to him. And Jun Wushang's weakness was that he only cared about material gains and emotions. Jun Wushang's most precious things were Night King City and his daughter. Now that he had been in seclusion for many years, the news had already spread. If he couldn't break through now, Night King City would definitely be eyed covetously. But Lin Yu just happened to appear now, which was exactly what he needed the most. This was also within Lin Yu's expectations. Of course, I can tell you the way to break it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be so bold to ask Night King to come. Jun Wushang was a businessman. Naturally, he could also see Lin Yu's motive. But he was afraid that Lin Yu would demand an exorbitant price. He didn't even give Lin Yu a chance to say it. Little brother Lin, do you know that your life is hanging by a thread? You have already offended the people of Lei and Ling sect. They are on their way here, right? Lin Yu didn't speak. Jun Wushang thought he was afraid, so he struck while the iron was hot. Thunder Cloud Sect's sect master Lei Long is a 7-sun transcendent realm master. Lingtian Palace's hall master Ling is an 8-sun transcendent realm master. Not to mention that they have countless masters under them, just these 2 people are enough. Enough to kill me easily. Lin Yu directly said it for him. Jun Wushang nodded with relief, thinking that it was good that he understood. Now, only I can protect you. The meaning of his words was obvious. But Lin Yu didn't care at all. Lei Long and Lingtian's cultivation is just passable. These 2 people are not worth mentioning. And I believe that Night King will listen to me to solve this matter. His words were confident. Qin Wunyan didn't expect Lin Yu to say such a thing. 2 transcendent realm late masters were not worth mentioning? But since Lin Yu said so, he must have his reasons. Sure enough, Jun Wushang's expression was not very good. Little brother Lin, my Night King City has always welcomed capable people and treated guests like home. But it doesn't mean that we will bear the trouble you caused. What if it's because of the scorching desert? Lin Yu seemed to say casually. Jun Wushang was taken aback, but he saw Lin Yu pouring a cup of tea and slowly sipping it. Seeing this, Qin Wunyan on the side also picked up the teacup and also noticed that Jun Wushang was lost in thought. You even know about the scorching desert? Jun Wushang frowned. From the beginning until now, he felt like he was led by the nose by Lin Yu. The scorching desert is about to open. Although Night King and the 2 sects have some friendship in recent years, I think Night King knows better than me that benefits outweigh friendship. This is the iron law of the major sections. Lin Yu gently shook the teacup, and the tea inside rotated along the inner circle of the cup. It was as calm and orderly as his state of mind. Lei Zong and Ling Feng came this time to participate in the scorching desert, right? Jun Wushang slammed the table with one hand. He didn't need to answer. Qin Wunyan already knew the answer. Everything was written on Jun Wushang's face. You killed them on purpose? Only by killing them can we attract bigger fish to take the bait. Facing Jun Wushang's anger, Lin Yu didn't hide it. Bigger fish? Are you talking about the Lei and Ling sects? Jun Wushang narrowed his eyes. Lin Yu nodded. If you say this, aren't you afraid that I will hand you over to the Lei and Ling sects? Lin Yu listened, but showed an indifferent look. Everything was within his expectations. Night King can naturally do that. Seeing Lin Yu's appearance, Jun Wushang knew that the other's temperament was deeper than he imagined. A simple threat couldn't shake Lin Yu at all. But before he came, he had already received the news. In less than an hour, the Lei and Ling sects would arrive at Night King City. Haha, little brother Lin has tied me to the same boat as you. Jun Wushang's tone softened a lot. Obviously he couldn't do anything to Lin Yu. He was right, even if Lin Yu was handed over to the Lei and Ling sects, this matter wouldn't end well. At that time, not only would Lin Yu die, but Lei Long and Ling sects would also take the opportunity to attack and personally enter the scorching desert. Even if they weren't careful, they might launch an attack on Night King City. Night King should know that the 2 sects are coming out in full force, right? Lin Yu could see that Jun Wushang had already set a trap. Sure enough, Jun Wushang sighed. To find Lin Yu for revenge, why would they need to come out in full force? Jun Wushang knew that there was something fishy about this. But you did kill their only son. Tell me, do you think they will be able to swallow this? Lin Yu knew that in Jun Wushang's eyes, he was a cunning person. He didn't care. Night King will thank me later. Now can we talk about cooperation? Night King nodded. I will help Night King break through to the invincible realm. Night King will let me enter the scorching desert. Chapter 56. What about revered Ling and Lei Long? Jun Wushang asked. It was Lin Yu who made this mess. He should have thought of a way to deal with it, right? Of course, they will go with me to the desert. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Do you want to die? Jun Wushang frowned tightly. He thought to himself, is this silly child crazy? Lin Yu shrugged. It doesn't matter. Although they are strong, I am not easy to deal with. Jun Wushang knew that Lin Yu was full of tricks, but in terms of combat power, he was sure that Lin Yu was no match for them. Think about it. If you go in with revered Ling and Lei Long, you will die. Jun Wushang warned Lin Yu again. Yes, but before that, I need Night King to help me set up a trap. What trap? Lin Yu stood up. I need the help of the 5 Elements Grand Array. Of course, even if I don't say it, Night King will take me there. Jun Wushang's heart tightened. He looked at the boy in front of him carefully, but he could only feel a terrifying aura. Other than that, it was hard to see anything else. Brother Lin, what is your plan? Just tell me. Let's go to the 5 Elements Grand Array first. Lin Yu smiled and walked out of the guest hall. Outside, Yi Mingyue was already waiting. Luo Shui and Shan stayed in the room quietly. Without Lin Yu's order, they didn't dare to come out. But at this moment, Luo Shui was holding Shan and heard the noise outside. Sister Luo, is there a lot of people outside? Will Big Brother be bullied? Shan snuggled in Luo Shui's arms. Luo Shui shook her head. Big Brother is strong, he won't be bullied. Although she comforted Shan, Luo Shui's heartbeat made Shan nervous. Young Master Lin. Yi Mingyue saw the 3 of them coming out of the guest hall. She immediately bowed and walked to Jun Wushang. Father, about young Master Lin. Young Master Lin can solve it himself. Jun Wushang snorted. Clearly, Jun Wushang wasn't happy that Lin Yu killed Ling Feng and Lei Zong to sow discord between Night King City and Ling Ling sect. This was to give Keeper Ling and Lei Long an excuse to attack. In response, Lin Yu smiled lightly. In the blink of an eye, they arrived at the auction. Lin Yu went straight in. Behind him, Jun Wushang, Qin Wunyan and Yi Mingyu also followed in. Because Lin Yu had warned Jun Wushang, the rest of the people were stopped outside by Jun Wushang. There are no outsiders here. Lin Yu stood on the auction stage with his hands behind his back. When Jun Wushang heard this, he looked at Qin Wunyan somewhat helplessly. Lin Yu was the instigator, and Yi Mingyu was his daughter. There was no problem between the 2 of them. But Qin Wunyan, a member of Blue Sky Shangqing Palace, was not someone easy to deal with. Why did Lin Yu think that he was not an outsider? Furthermore, Jadefall Supreme Pure Palace's strength was tyrannical. Although the sect was no longer as strong as before after the Ink Dragon Emperor's death, Lord Thoughtless was still one of the top youths of the current generation. Night King City was quite wary of him. Qin Wunyan's expression was calm, but he knew Jun Wushang's intention. He was about to leave when he heard Lin Yu's voice. Young Master Wunyan is my friend. Coincidentally, only he can help with the matter I mentioned. Lin Yu did not wait for Jun Wushang to reply. He was too lazy to make him feel awkward. He directly waved his hand on the stage. Suddenly, the array behind Jun Wushang's group shot up to the sky. Kid, how can you activate my 5 Elements array? Jun Wushang and Yi Mingyu were shocked. Lin Yu smiled. As his hand gestures changed, the first Earth Elephant array frantically rotated. In an instant, the second, third and 5 elements array were activated at the same time. Jun Wushang raised his right hand and tried to control the 5 elements array. Suddenly, he suffered a backlash and immediately retracted his hand. Lin Yu bathed in the light of the array. His entire person was like the ruler of this space. Brother Qin, what do you think of the 5 elements array? Qin Wunyan was shocked, but he was better than Jun Wushang and Yi Mingyu. At least Lin Yu had told him in advance that he would solve the 5 elements array's flaw today. Now that Lin Yu had this move, although his words were still shocking, he at least had some confidence in his heart. Qin Wunyan looked around and walked to the first Earth Elephant array. I've heard of this array for a long time, but this is the first time I've seen it with my own eyes. He tried to raise his hand, wrapped it in Yao Qi, and touched the array's light screen. That earth-colored array instantly bounced back a wave. Qin Wunyan felt a sense of crisis in his heart. He immediately took a few steps back, and the array's wave swept out. If he had not been prepared, he would have been injured by the array. Night King's array is indeed powerful. If it was before, Jun Wushang would definitely be very happy to hear Qin Wunyan's words. But now, he had no confidence at all. Because not only could Lin Yu control the 5 elements array here, but he could also make the 5 elements array not be controlled by him. This was the most terrifying part. In front of Lin Yu, Jun Wushang had no right to speak at all. Although the array is good, it has a fatal weakness. As soon as Lin Yu's words came out, Jun Wushang immediately came back to his senses. He saw that Lin Yu had already walked to the same position as Qin Wunyan. Brother Qin, watch carefully. As soon as his voice fell, Lin Yu's figure took a step forward unhurriedly. Be careful! Yi Mingyu shouted worriedly. This scene was seen by Jun Wushang with his sharp eyes, but his heart twisted. Mingyu sigh, a grown girl can't be kept at home. Jun Wushang knew his daughter's character. She would not care about the life and death of others for no reason, unless that person was from Night King City, or the only explanation was that his daughter finally had someone she liked. Jun Wushang already had the answer in his heart. At this moment, Jun Wushang saw that Lin Yu did not prepare in advance like Qin Wunyan and walked out of the array unscrupulously. Jun Wushang suddenly had a bad idea in his heart. He might as well be injured directly and teach that kid a lesson. But as Lin Yu's step fell, the force of the array that everyone thought to be repulsive did not appear. Lin Yu just took a step out calmly, as if he was walking on an ordinary flight of stairs. What the hell? Jun Wushang did not expect that from the moment he came out of seclusion until now. He would be confused all the way. My array, could it be that it has failed? Impossible. He glanced at Qin Wunyan and immediately denied this idea. Lin Yu did not keep him in suspense. He suddenly stretched out his hand and signaled to Jun Wushang. There is a flaw in the array. Does Night King dare to come and try? Jun Wushang hesitated. He would not take the risk. Especially if he was injured by his own array, he would be laughed at in the North Star field in the future. But unexpectedly, Lin Yu's hand turned to Yi Mingyu. Just as Jun Wushang was about to stop him, Yi Mingyu had already taken a step forward. Wait! Lin Yu looked at the ground and counted, 3, 2, 1, and then instantly pulled Yi Mingyu. With a whoosh, even Yi Mingyu walked through the light curtain. Chapter 57. This time, Jun Wushang and Qin Wunyan saw it clearly. Every once in a while, a gap would appear on the light screen formed by the Earth Elephant formation, and Lin Yu could see this gap. Gap? Why is there a gap? Jun Wushang himself didn't know. In his opinion, the invincible part of the 5 elements array was that it was impossible to get out from the inside, unless he forcefully blasted it open with his cultivation. But in that case, even if he could get out, he would either die or be injured. But now, Lin Yu was holding his daughter's hand and jumped out of the second array. The third array. The fourth array. Jun Wushang even had the heart to die. Qin Wunyan couldn't help but laugh. Brother Lin, okay, I understand. He was in a good mood as he had seen something incredible. The 5 elements array had such a big gap. Qin Wunyan saw Jun Wushang's gloomy face. It was obviously the feeling of his proudest thing being cracked. After that, Lin Yu waved his hand and the 5 elements array dispersed. Jun Wushang's face suddenly changed, and he instantly appeared in front of Lin Yu. He raised his hand, and 9 sun phantoms appeared behind him. It was the 9 sun transcendent realms cultivation. Yi Mingwei was shocked. When she wanted to go forward to stop Jun Wushang, she saw Lin Yu blocking in front of her. However, Lin Yu didn't make a move. Until Jun Wushang's palm was only a foot away from his face, he still only smiled calmly. Sure enough, this palm didn't land. Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue's clothes fluttered continuously, but the 9 sun glory chi had already dissipated. You took away my beloved daughter in front of me and cracked the city protection array, but you can still receive my palm so calmly. Good. You have guts. Jun Wushang laughed. His eyes weren't looking at Lin Yu, but Yi Mingyue's eyes that were blaming him. He immediately put down his hand. His eyes curved, and his anger turned into laughter. Seeing Yi Mingyue's eyes, Jun Wushang knew that he had to laugh even if he didn't want to. Haha, little brother Lin, I was just joking. You don't mind, right? Jun Wushang placed his hand on Lin Yu's shoulder and smiled at Yi Mingyu. When he saw his daughter's reaction, his heart turned cold. He knew that he had guessed correctly. He was afraid that he would not be able to keep this beloved daughter of his. However, Jun Wushang was glad that Lin Yu was qualified. Regardless of courage, strategy, talent, or cultivation, Jun Wushang knew that Lin Yu was not any weaker than Ling Feng. Such a young man's future achievements might even be above Qin Wunyan's. Only Lin Yu was worthy of his daughter. The Night King needs to vent. I understand. Lin Yu smiled faintly. He understood that Jun Wushang must have suffered a big blow today. However, there was no other way. Lin Yu's purpose in coming from the Forgotten Immortal sect was to take away the key in the scorching desert. He had to plot against Jun Wushang once. It's good that little brother Lin understands. However, I wonder if you can help me keep the secret that there is a flaw in my array? As Jun Wushang said this, he looked at Qin Wunyan. They should have the same meaning. It's impossible to keep a secret. When Jun Wushang heard this, his heart tightened. Shouldn't the Night King think about how to fix this flaw? Jun Wushang's heart was moved up and down by Lin Yu. He was immediately filled with hope. Little brother, do you have a way? Of course there is a way, but I still need the Night King's help. Little brother, please speak. Jun Wushang's attitude was even more polite. Lin Yu had a way to increase his cultivation and array formation. This kid was very magical. The people from the Lei and Ling sects should have arrived. Let them come over. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Jun Wushang was shocked again. Come here? Of course, the entrance is here. These 2 sentences came out of nowhere, but only the 2 of them understood. Lin Yu looked at the dragon head above the auction house. The entrance to the scorching desert should be opened. Jun Wushang looked helpless. If Lin Yu only knew the secret of the array, he might be able to use the previous method to force Lin Yu to say it. But now, Lin Yu not only knew the array, but also his mixed yuan technique and the entrance to the scorching desert. He didn't even tell Yi Mingyue about these things. Otherwise, Jun Wushang would definitely suspect that his daughter was siding with an outsider. Although it was a matter of time, Jun Wushang didn't want to face that day so soon. Lin Yu returned to the auction house stage again and bowed to Qin Wunyan. The situation in the Northland is turbulent. Brother Qin has always represented the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace. Listen to me and leave first. Qin Wunyan knew that Lin Yu was sincerely looking out for him, so he didn't argue. After all, if the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace was involved in the battle of the 3 sects, he wouldn't be able to face the elders in the palace. Then I'll take my leave first. If there's anything, Brother Lin can come to the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace to find me. Immediately, Qin Wunyan took out a palm-sized wooden tablet from his bosom and gave it to Lin Yu. Looking at the wooden tablet that was still warm and exuded an ancient aura, the words, Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace's Supreme Token, were written on it. Qin Wunyan didn't put this wooden tablet in his storage ring but carried it with him. It was enough to see how precious this item was. Brother Qin. Lin Yu called out to him. If the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace encounters a great calamity, remember to protect your life. You are the future of the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace. Brother Lin, can you enlighten me? A trace of panic flashed through Qin Wunyan's eyes. He was a confident person, but with Lin Yu's ability to be able to say the words encounter a great calamity, there seemed to be an irreversible severity of fate. From the moment the Ink Dragon Emperor fell, this day was destined to come. Hearing this, Qin Wunyan took a deep breath. He remembered that Lin Yu had once used the Khanate deduction art. And Lin Yu didn't tell him how to break it, which meant that this calamity couldn't be broken. Protect your life. You are the future of the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace. Qin Wunyan silently recited Lin Yu's words and bowed deeply. Lin Yu also felt a warmth in his heart, and bowed to Qin Wunyan from a distance. The North Territory was in turmoil. He saw the future, and also knew that the future of the Azure Sky Supreme Purity Palace was not good. But that was the aftereffects of the Ink Dragon Emperor's era, and was destined to erupt one day. Haha, the Night King said that the murderer of my son is inside. Let me see. Outside the auction, a thunderous roar suddenly came. Immediately, Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue saw a burly middle-aged man stride over. He was a little smaller than Jun Wushang, but compared to the average person, he was already an extremely tall existence. As soon as he came in, he locked his gaze on Lin Yu. With one step, the ground around them shook violently. A combat cultivator. Yi Mingyue's heart tightened. Seeing that the man was charging at Lin Yu, she wanted to stand in front of Lin Yu. Here, no one dared to touch her. However, Lin Yu pulled Yi Mingyue back and raised his hand at the same time. Then, he struck out with his palm. You overestimate yourself. The Thunder Dragon's heavy fist hit Lin Yu's palm, and in an instant, their clothes fluttered without wind. Yi Mingyue was shocked. No, he's a combat cultivator. A combat cultivator was a cultivator who cultivated an extremely powerful combat body. For combat cultivators, their combat bodies were extremely powerful, and they were good at close combat, using their powerful bodies to suppress their opponents. Because of that, other martial artists didn't dare to directly clash with a combat cultivator with a combat body. That was tantamount to throwing an egg at a rock. But Lin Yu did. The Night King also jumped in fright. With a bang, Lin Yu was thrown back, his feet drawing a line of fire on the ground. He retreated 10 steps before stabilizing himself. If it were someone of Jun Wushang's level, perhaps Lei Long would be happy with the power of his move. But Lin Yu blocked his move, which made Lei Long very unhappy. So you're also a combat cultivator. Good, my son is indeed no match for you. Then I'll personally meet you. Lei Long stepped out again. A combat cultivator's body was invincible, and his speed was even faster. In the blink of an eye, he was already stomping down on Lin Yu. Chapter 58. Yi Mingyue wanted to help, but Jun Wushang was already one step ahead of her. At the critical moment, Jun Wushang lifted his palm and appeared in front of Lin Yu, colliding with Lei Long's attack. Clang! Lei Long gritted his teeth. Intense pain came from his feet. Jun Wushang's palm suddenly formed a light shield that was 20 feet in size. The light shield emitted chaotic light and had a terrifying backlash force. It directly returned all of Lei Long's strength to himself. Lin Yu smiled faintly. It seemed that Jun Wushang was also expressing his sincerity to him, just like how he received his palm attack. Jun Wushang, he killed my son. Is Night King City deliberately going against me? Lei Long said furiously. There may be other reasons for this. But if Brother Lei insists on dealing with Lin Yu, then forgive me for not giving you face. Lin Yu used the entire morning to let Jun Wushang make a choice. He chose to stand on Lin Yu's side. He Jun Wushang. Another sharp voice came from outside the auction house. Yi Minghua looked over and saw a white-robed old man standing there unknowingly. He was still a distance away, but with his seemingly slow steps, he had already appeared in between Lei Long and Jun Wushang. This person raised his hand, and the speed of his attack was so fast that a purple stream of light was drawn in the air. He was obviously not a combat cultivator, but his Yaoqi cultivation had already reached an unfathomable level. With just one move, he caused a Yaoqi storm, which directly swept towards Jun Wushang. Jun Wushang's face was very ugly. These two people seemed to be here to deal with Lin Yu, but when they really attacked, they were targeting him. This was exactly what Lin Yu had said before. If he were to cause trouble at this critical juncture, the Lei and Ling sects would definitely take the opportunity to attack and swallow the fat meat that was Night King City. Jun Wushang kept retreating. Obviously, he couldn't withstand the joint attack of two top-notch Transcendent Realm experts. At this moment, no one would come in from the outside. When Jun Wushang and the other two came in, they already had an agreement. Otherwise, once the Night King City's people came in to help, the Lightning Cloud sect and Ling Tian Palace's people would come in at the same time. At that time, Night King City would become an Azura battlefield. Naturally, Jun Wushang would not let such a thing happen. At the very least, he could reduce Night King City's losses. Kid, why aren't you helping? Jun Wushang gritted his teeth and asked Lin Yu for help. Jun Wushang knew that Lin Yu's battle prowess was definitely not at the level of a one-ignited wheel refinement realm cultivator, since he was able to withstand Lei Long's full-powered palm strike. Lin Yu faintly smiled. In this way, he and Night King City were tightly tied to the same boat. Lin Yu pointed a finger at Lei Long and Jun Wushang, and a beam of Yao Qi shot out, striking Lei Long's armpit. Ah! His weak spot had been hit. Bang! The Thunder Dragon let out a cry of pain. It abruptly stopped attacking and retreated a few steps. Damn beast, you dare to sneak attack me? While Lei Long retreated, Keeper Ling was also hit by Jun Wushang's full power attack. With a loud bang, Keeper Ling fell to the ground, his aura chaotic. Jun Wushang, it seems that you are determined to fight. With the enemy retreating, Jun Wushang finally had a chance to recover. Of course I will take revenge for my son, but now that the scorching desert is about to open, I wonder if the two of you will choose to fight with me or enter the scorching desert? The moment he said this, Keeper Ling and Lei Long were both stunned. Jun Wushang looked at Lin Yu. Kid, have you thought it through? Lin Yu nodded. Jun Wushang waved his right hand and the huge dragon head in the auction hall opened its mouth and a teleportation wave swept out. That was the entrance to the scorching desert. The scorching desert will only open for 3 hours. Once it closes, it cannot be opened for 100 years. Jun Wushang stared at the two. The two of you didn't take out the things inside that year. I wonder if you will miss this opportunity and wait for another 100 years? Lei Long and Lei Long were obviously tempted, but they didn't go in first because they were worried that this was a trap set by Jun Wushang. Night King, the good things in the scorching desert are mine. Lin Yu leaped into the air and stepped directly into the teleportation array in front of everyone. That kid went in. If there is no problem inside, let's go in too. Seeing this, Lei Long and the other man no longer hesitated. With Lin Yu as the scapegoat and Jun Wushang helping them, Lei Long and the other man no longer had any scruples. Without hesitation, they flew into the transmission array. Sigh. Jun Wushang sighed softly. Lin Yu could be said to be doomed on this trip. But before he could react, Yi Mingyu's figure had already disappeared into the teleportation array. Mingyu. Jun Wushang wanted to stop her, but he was one step too late. He chased after her in the air, but he caught nothing. After landing, the auction hall was filled with tension, but in the blink of an eye, he was the only one left. Sand flew into the sky, the scorching desert was like a chopping board, and the hot storms were like blades. Now Lin Yu was the meat on the chopping board. Hee, I didn't expect Night King to be so generous, even sending his precious daughter in. Lei Long's lips curled up, and his figure shot out, instantly closing in on Yi Mingyu, who had just come out of the teleportation array. Yi Mingyu frowned, seeing that Lin Yu had safely landed on the ground. A jade pendant flew up in front of her, forming a strong barrier. With a clang, Lei Long's fist landed on the barrier, and the rebound force caused Yi Mingyu's blood and qi to become chaotic, but she also took the opportunity to retreat, landing where Lin Yu was. Lei Long attacked again, and Yi Mingyu was about to block, but Lin Yu was one step ahead of her, and the second time, Lei Long's fist landed on Lin Yu's palm. With a cracking sound, Lin Yu was sent flying, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Hee, you are not strong enough, but you still want to be a hero and save the beauty, idiot. Lei Long slowly approached. Lin Yu's lips curled up, the current defeat was obviously an act, and he also smiled at this moment. You are the idiot. If you kill us now, who will be the sacrifice for you? This brat is not simple, he even knows about the sacrifice? Lei Long was startled, and Keeper Ling immediately stopped him. He is obviously in cahoots with Jun Wushang, so it is reasonable that Jun Wushang told him this secret. But he is right, to take the thing out, we need 2 living sacrifices. Keeper Ling looked greedily at Lin Yu and Yi Mingyu. The sacrifice is only a legend, no one has ever confirmed it. Lei Long was not as greedy as Keeper Ling. Master Lei, that thing was left behind by the most ruthless of the 9 emperors, Qi Tiandi. It is normal for him to need sacrifices. Keeper Ling shook his head, indicating that Lei Long could not kill Lin Yu for now. Yi Mingyu supported Lin Yu, only to see Lin Yu winking at her. You faked it? Yi Mingyu was shocked, but she immediately understood what was going on. Lin Yu coughed. It seems that both of you know about the need for sacrifices. Since Sect Master Lei wants to kill, could it be that you intend to send Palace Master Ling up when the number of sacrifices is insufficient? Brat, how dare you slander us? Lei Long pointed at Lin Yu and was about to rush forward to teach Lin Yu a lesson, but Keeper Ling stopped him. You want to provoke me and Master Lei with such a petty trick? Keeper Ling smiled, thinking that he had seen through Lin Yu's trick. Lin Yu shrugged and didn't say anything. Sect Master Lei, the 2 of them are the sacrificial offerings. The desert will not open for long. When we find what we need, it will be the time of their death. There is no hurry. Lei Long frowned. He would definitely kill Lin Yu, but Yi Mingyu, even Jun Wushang's daughter. Chapter 59. He just wanted to capture Yi Mingyu and use her to threaten Jun Wushang. But if he really killed Yi Mingyu, wouldn't Jun Wushang fight him to the death? What a joke, why not? Keeper Ling grinned as he stared at Yi Mingyu with a greedy look on his pale face. But this girl is so beautiful, it would be a pity to just kill her. Lei Long squinted his eyes. He knew that this old man cultivated evil arts, and there were countless women who died in his hands. His son, Ling Feng, and the group of people from the Heaven Ascension Palace all viewed women as playthings. Therefore, when Ling Feng died in Lin Yu's hands, many women of the Heaven Ascension Palace were moved to tears and temporarily escaped from the fire pit. How much longer are you going to talk? Lin Yu looked over impatiently. Keeper Ling saw Lin Yu standing in front of Yi Mingyu. Soon, it will be your time of death. Lin Yu ignored him and left with Yi Mingyu. Want to run? Lei Long reacted and rushed over with Keeper Ling following behind. The scorching desert was boundless. Looking around, one could only see a vast expanse of golden sand and desolation. Lin Yu led the way. He knew that the key was special and he might not be able to take it out in time, so he didn't want to waste time talking to Lei Long and the others. He was slightly injured, but he had achieved his goal. That was enough. As expected, Lei Long and Yi Mingyu were rushing over at full speed. Without any hesitation, Lin Yu grabbed Yi Mingyu's hand. "They're catching up," Yi Mingyu said worriedly. However, when they arrived at a seemingly quiet desert, Lin Yu looked down and bit his finger. A drop of blood flew into the air, and he drew a blood talisman. "Little thing, don't sleep," Lin Yu murmured, and the blood rune merged with the desert. Yi Mingyu was confused and Lin Yu suddenly turned around with her. Lei Long and Keeper Ling were confused when the desert below them started to shake. "There's something down there." Keeper Ling was the first to notice it. But when he was about to retreat, he saw the desert below rise up. Sand filled the sky as a desert barrier appeared in front of them. Lei Long also stopped chasing after them. He saw an ear-piercing roar coming from behind the barrier. The roar shook the desert. Even though Lin Yu was a distance away, he still felt pain in his ears. Yi Mingyu turned around and her eyes widened. She saw the sand slowly falling down, but what was exposed was barbs. Under the barbs, a pair of ferocious red eyes opened. "Sand lizard!" As soon as Keeper Ling's voice fell, a huge spike shot out from behind the barrier. It was so fast that in the blink of an eye, it was already within 10 feet of Keeper Ling. "A mere demonic beast, how dare you!" Raising his right hand, Keeper Ling made a grasping motion in the air behind him, causing 8 scorching hot auras to descend upon him. 8 Transcendent Realm. Yi Mingyu's face. In the face of such a powerful person, she didn't know how to escape with Lin Yu. 8 Suns Yu, die for me. It was rare to see a battle between Transcendent Realm experts, but today was the second time in a row. With a loud boom, the gigantic bone spike was bombarded by the 8 suns and was unable to move an inch further. The Lord of Heaven Ascension Palace is indeed powerful. Yi Mingyu's face was pale. If this was Lin Yu's trump card, they wouldn't be able to escape. Lin Yu shrugged. "It's still early." His words had just faded when the crowd saw that Lei Long had originally intended to leave the battlefield, but another bone spike had appeared beside him. Rumble! Lei Long activated his battle physique and exerted his physical strength to the extreme. He punched the lizard. But suddenly, he felt an unprecedented sense of danger. Damn it! It's not the one-tailed sand lizard. Lei Long knew that he and Zun Ling had been too careless and immediately retreated. Zun Ling also managed to escape in a sorry state. Amidst the storm, 8 bone spikes shot up into the sky. 8-tailed sand lizard. That's an invincible realm beast. Yi Mingyu gasped. Even she didn't know that there was an invincible realm beast in her territory. If this beast could be controlled, Night King City wouldn't have to worry about being targeted. "Retreat!" Keeper Ling shouted, but where the two of them were, a cold aura suddenly condensed. Damn it! It's the invincible realm's cold air. Keeper Ling's face changed. The 9-sun transcendent realm was strong, but the invincible realm was cold. It was the nemesis of the transcendent realm. Keeper Ling and Lei Long were a step slower when they saw their feet being frozen by the ice, but it was only this one step that allowed the 8 bone spikes to reach their heads. Outside the teleportation array, Xinghe had just woken up. He went around the Lei and Ling clan's army and entered the auction from the side door. As soon as he came in, he was shocked. The dragon head in the sky had the image of the scorching desert. "Your Highness, why did the lady go in too?" Jun Wushang sighed and shook his head. "A grown girl can't be kept at home. What can I do?" But when he saw the 8-tailed sand lizard, his heart tightened. It shouldn't have appeared at this time. Why, strange. Our ancestors set up a seal to avoid that thing. We can only enter the desert when it's asleep. Even if the two were worried, they couldn't enter the teleportation array. "Night King, the lady is inside. Can't we go in?" Even if Xinghe was injured, he couldn't help but worry about Yi Mingyu. After all, he watched her grow up. We can't go in. The array only allows 4 people at most. Jun Wushang shook his head. The item that Heaven Emperor Qi left behind has a seal placed on it. It's extremely overbearing. Even after so many years, we still can't break it. Fortunately, he could see the situation inside through the teleportation array. Seeing that Yi Mingyu was safe and Lin Yu was protecting her, he was relieved. Now, we can only rely on that kid to protect Mingyu. Jun Wushang turned to Xinghe and said with surprise, "Old man, why did you faint in the morning? Is it time?" Xinghe spat a few times. "My lord, this is a taboo. I'm old and I can't talk about it. As for why I fainted, it's because of the Night King city." Jun Wushang listened to Xinghe's explanation. The more he listened, the more he felt that something was wrong. At the same time, in the desert, Lin Yu quickly retreated. The sandstorm was so strong that it seemed like the whole world had fallen into a sandstorm. With a boom, Lei Long and Keeper Ling rushed out of the sandstorm. Both of them were covered in blood. They grabbed Lin Yu and Yi Mingyu and left. "Damned beast, I've never heard from Master that there's such a powerful thing here." Keeper Ling spat out a mouthful of blood. Apparently, he was more injured than Lei Long. In this kind of battle, Lei Long's body was obviously more powerful. "Whatever, the thing is just in front. Let's send these 2 offerings in first. If it weren't for the offerings, I would have killed them already." Keeper Ling glared at Lin Yu and Yi Mingyu. He clearly saw that Lin Yu had sensed the presence of the beast and deliberately avoided it. But they were the ones who suffered. Chapter 60. We're here. After flying for a while, they stopped. There was a pillar in front of them. It was a pillar that connected the desert to the sky. This pillar was completely scarlet, and there were black veined patterns all over it. The 4 of them landed on the ground. The pillar was actually inserted in the middle of an altar with a diameter of 30 feet. The entire pillar was also 10 feet wide. But the pillar was so long that it looked like a long stick that connected the sky and the earth. "This is it." Keeper Ling approached the pillar with greed. He couldn't help but touch it. He could feel the terrifying energy coming from the pillar. "Let me see how powerful the things left behind by the great emperor equal to heaven are." Just as he finished speaking, his hand was already pressed against the pillar. At this moment, Lei Long's eyes flashed with a sharp light. All of a sudden, Keeper Ling's expression changed drastically as a suction force comparable to the 8-tailed sand lizard's unbreakable level appeared from the pillar. Just as Master said, "This thing is bloodthirsty." Keeper Ling retracted his hand and breathed a sigh of relief. But then, he felt a powerful force coming at him from behind. Before he could react, he had already hit the pillar. "Lei Long, what are you doing?" Keeper Ling cursed loudly, but what followed was an incomparable pain that spread throughout his body. "Save me! Save me!" At this moment, the vitality of his physical body was being devoured by the pillar. His old face instantly withered like the bark of a withered tree. "How can you be so stupid at your age? If you don't die, how can I get the heaven and earth extinguishing staff? As long as I take care of you, who else can take Heaven's Emperor's treasure from me?" Lei Long's laughter echoed in the air. Keeper Ling's eyes were filled with murderous intent. He tried to grab Lei Long, but Lei Long kicked him back. In less than 10 minutes, Yi Mingyu saw that Keeper Ling had turned into a withered corpse. The Master of Heaven Ascension Palace was killed just like that? "Let's go, let's go." Yi Mingyu was so scared that her face turned pale. She knew Lei Long's power. She had been injured by Lei Long from the beginning, and Lin Yu was also injured. Even if the 2 of them worked together, they would not be able to defeat Lei Long. And the giant staff was vibrating in response to Keeper Ling's death. It was as if it really needed a sacrifice to awaken. And Keeper Ling's blood wasn't enough. "Go." Lei Long turned around and raised his hand, looking at the extinguishing heaven and earth staff. The thing my lightning cloud sex ancestor wanted for so many years is right in front of me. It still needs your blood to awaken, so stay. With that, Lei Long grabbed Yi Mingyue. Lin Yu and Yi Mingyu were injured one after the other, but when he faced the eight-tailed sand lizard, he was only slightly injured because Keeper Ling took most of the damage. This gave Lei Long a plan. He was confident that he could kill Keeper Ling, then deal with Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue. As Yi Mingyue retreated explosively, Lin Yu suddenly appeared in front of her. Lei Long frowned as he noticed Lin Yu's empty and lifeless eyes, and he became vigilant. In the next instant, he suddenly turned around and smashed his fist forward. It's a substitute. Lei Long was experienced in close combat. He didn't know when Lin Yu swapped places with the substitute, but as soon as he noticed something was wrong, Lei Long reacted. Sure enough, the moment he turned around, another Lin Yu punched him. Boom! The Transcendent Realm battle physique punched out. The sand on the ground was blown up and waves of air spread out. Lin Yu smiled. Of course, he wouldn't fight Lei Long head-on. At this moment Lin Yu retreated. He endured the pain from his battle physique and activated his spiritual sense. An invisible spiritual sense attack swept towards Lei Long. The weakest aspect of a battle physique cultivator was their spiritual sense. At this moment, Lei Long felt a sharp pain in his mind, and his body stopped moving. Not only has your battle physique reached the Samsara realm, but your spiritual sense is also at the Samsara realm. Good, you're qualified to be my opponent. Lin Yu adjusted his body and smiled in disdain. But you're not qualified. As soon as he finished speaking, a sword light pierced through Lei Long's body and shot out from his chest. What? Lei Long turned around in disbelief and saw the puppet Lin Yu swinging his sword a second time. Although the Thunder Hibernation sword was thin, it was extremely sharp. With a whoosh, the second sword hit Lei Long. So your puppet is the strongest. Lei Long ignored his serious injuries and landed in front of the puppet. He threw a punch and the altar on the ground cracked. With a clang, the fist force landed on the puppet's body, but there were no ripples. A seven-colored profound armor shone brightly and actually rebounded the fist force. The bones in Lei Long's hand made cracking sounds, and were actually shattered by the profound armor. The next moment, he was greeted by dozens of sword lights. Whoosh! Whoosh! The sword lights pierced through Lei Long's body, but his battle physique was so strong that he could still resist. However, at this moment, Lin Yu's glabella shone brightly. This spiritual sense is enough. As he stepped down, the space around him rumbled. His aura had reached the divine will Samsara realm. Lin Yu disappeared on the spot. When he reappeared, a devouring force appeared above Lei Long's head. It was the soul-devouring technique of the divine will Great Emperor. The terrifying suction force of the soul-devouring technique enveloped Lei Long. The latter should not have been hit so easily, but his combat strength was less than 20% of his usual. Damn it, damn it! Lei Long's spiritual sense continued to fade, and his battle physique was also being bombarded by the puppet's sword lights. He had been in the North Star Field for so many years. He never thought that he would be defeated by a teenager. Lei Long's back was drenched in cold sweat. He only realized something when he was on the verge of death. You've been scheming against me and revered Ling from the beginning. He finally realized that Lin Yu had a transcendent realm puppet. His battle physique and spiritual sense had also reached the Samsara realm. How could he be injured so easily? You pretended to be weak on purpose. You made me think that I could take the annihilating heaven and earth staff after killing revered Ling. Lei Long's aura quickly dissipated. He had underestimated his opponent. Lin Yu smiled faintly and retracted the soul-devouring technique. He kicked Lei Long away and sent him crashing into the annihilating heaven and earth staff. I missed one thing. I was the one who summoned the eight-tailed sand lizard. Lin Yu stood in front of Lei Long and smiled. You've done well, Sect Master Lei. Lei Long laughed in regret. He knew that Lin Yu was referring to him killing revered Ling after he was injured. Only he could sneak attack revered Ling instantly and kill an 8-sun transcendent realm expert with the annihilating heaven and earth staff's bloodthirsty power. What Lin Yu wanted was for him to kill the strongest obstacle. Lei Long felt like he had fallen into an ice cellar. He finally realized how terrifying the person he had underestimated was. However, he no longer had the chance to fight against Lin Yu. Yi Mingyue was stunned the entire time. She only regained her senses after Lei Long died. She looked at the handsome face in front of her. He had killed Lei Long and revered Ling, whom even her father regarded as his enemies. They were peak transcendent realm experts. However, Yi Mingyue saw with her own eyes that the two of them had fallen into Lin Yu's trap. They were attacked by the puppets from both sides and died in the end. How could 2 offerings be enough for Heaven Emperor Qi's items? Lin Yu said faintly. He looked down at the 2 withered corpses and took their storage rings. The 2 sect masters of the top sects had plenty of good stuff in their storage rings. However, Lin Yu didn't have time to look at the items inside. With the death of the 2 transcendent realm offerings, the altar shook. Chapter 61. Yi Mingyue's expression changed drastically. Lin Yu raised his head and looked at the heaven and earth extinguishing rod that was emitting a shocking blood-red light. Greedy thing! Lin Yu quickly retreated with Yi Mingyue. At this moment, the heaven and earth extinguishing rod rose by itself and was about to hit Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue. After retreating, Yi Mingyue looked down with her beautiful eyes. Legend has it that the Heaven Emperor is extremely violent. He was born as a top-tier demon beast. The heaven and earth extinguishing rod is also tainted by his violent aura. It has been many years. The violent aura was even more powerful in the past. Now, the violent aura left in the heaven and earth extinguishing rod is less than 10% of its peak. If not, he wouldn't have the confidence to take it. The heaven and earth extinguishing rod was the key to the Dao River that he wanted. What should we do now? Yi Mingyue was shocked. The heaven and earth extinguishing rod was stirring up the desert and the sky. Although this sky might not be real, at this moment, the entire desert seemed to have turned into a pool of blood as the blood-red light enveloped the area below. No hurry. Lin Yu naturally knew the reason. As soon as he finished speaking, a sandstorm rose into the sky. A huge lizard rushed out of the sandstorm and crashed into the heaven and earth extinguishing rod. The lizard was 30 meters tall. Its body was the same color as the desert, but there were 8 bone spikes that were 30 meters long at the end of its tail. Do you see the color of the bone spikes? Lin Yu raised his eyebrows. Yi Mingyue nodded seriously. She also saw that the bone spikes and the heaven and earth extinguishing rod were also shining with blood-red light and covered with black runes. The sand lizard's power comes from the heaven and earth extinguishing rod? This little thing stole a lot of my power. Now that I want to leave, it won't let me. As soon as Lin Yu finished speaking, the 8 bone spikes wrapped around the heaven and earth extinguishing rod. The part that had left the altar was stabbed into the desert again. Failed to awaken? How can I let others leave what I want to take away? I'll go help the rod. Miss Yi, wait for me here. Don't move. Yi Mingyue was shocked. That's an unyielding realm demonic beast. She wanted to stop Lin Yu, but the other party's speed was just too fast. In a blink of an eye, he was already several tens of feet away from her, approaching the 8-tailed sand lizard's attack range. I'm only going to say this once. Obey me and I'll take you away. Lin Yu sent a sandstorm wind blade to the solitary universe staff. The situation here was too dangerous. If it wasn't for the fact that he wanted to take away the treasure, he wouldn't have bothered to get involved in the battle between the 2 big guys. No one knew if the world extinguishing staff responded or not. If there was, what kind of response would it give? However, Yi Mingyu only saw a tuzhong tall egg fly out from Lin Yu's storage ring. It's about time. Just as Lin Yu finished speaking, the eggshell cracked. An aura soared into the sky, and the sandstorm rose again. The entire desert seemed to be overturned. It was also at this moment that the transmission array in the auction hall directly shattered, and no one could see what was happening inside. Jun Wushang and Xing He's complexion changed greatly at the same time. Lei Long and revered Ling are dead, but the young lady hasn't come out yet. Xing He looked at Jun Wushang worriedly. At this moment, Jun Wushang's face was also full of worry as he stared at the shattered transmission array. The second restriction of the scorching desert has been triggered. This is the restriction that will only be triggered when there's an unconquerable aura other than the guardian demon beast in the desert. Xing He naturally knew that the problem was getting worse. The restriction has been triggered, and the transmission array has collapsed. How will the young lady and Lin Yu come out? Xing He suddenly thought of something, and took out a piece of paper from his chest. Night King, I found this when I woke up. Lei Ling and Ling Sex belong to the Night King. I'll borrow Ming Yu temporarily and return it to her in perfect condition. Looking at the line of words on the paper, Jun Wushang's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that he had predicted all of this from the beginning? Impossible, how can there be such a powerful person in the world? Jun Wushang couldn't believe it. Combined with the appearance of Lin Yu at the beginning, the death of Lei Zong and Ling Feng, and the appearance of Lei Ling and Ling Sex after he came out of seclusion, everything seemed to be moving in the same direction as if it was being pulled by something. If that's the case, Ming Yu won't be in danger. Jun Wushang swallowed and clicked his tongue in wonder. I've never seen such a person in my life. Xing He heaved a sigh of relief. It's good that the young lady is fine, but there's no such person as Lin Yu in the north before. Night King, do we need to check again? Jun Wushang shook his head. No, this person can only be a friend. Don't offend him. Xing He immediately nodded. Indeed, if he went against Lin Yu, he might end up like Lei Long and Keeper Ling. In the scorching desert, Yi Mingyu's blood was boiling. Although she was worried about Lin Yu, she had to take a few steps back. She also saw Lin Yu take out the auction egg, and doubts arose in her heart. Could it be that the mystery that Elder Xing He couldn't see through was also solved by young Master Lin? In the center of the storm, the eggshell was completely shattered. A 9-colored light flew out and circled twice in the air before finally landing in front of Lin Yu. Lin Yu's lips curled up. He reached out his hand and touched the light. The light faded away, revealing a white ape kneeling in front of him with its eyes closed. The ape was only as tall as a 3-year-old human child, but the moment it appeared, the place where it was standing was frozen solid. That was the unbreakable cold chi. Go get your item, it's yours. Lin Yu said lightly and waved his hand. The ape disappeared, and when it reappeared, it was right next to the heaven and earth extinguishing staff. Compared to the ape was like an ant standing in front of a mountain. But the moment this ant held the heaven and earth extinguishing staff, the bloodthirsty aura that originally appeared in Keeper Ling and Lei Long didn't appear. Instead, it was replaced by a sense of obedience. The ape slowly opened its eyes and exerted strength in its arms. It couldn't hold the heaven and earth extinguishing staff at all. It could only hold the staff with its palm, but the 3-foot-long staff was easily swung by its 2-inch hand. Once again, it left the altar and rushed out of the desert. With all its previous efforts wasted, the 8-tailed sand lizard was furious. 8 black bone spikes shot towards the ape, creating a piercing sound. The ape didn't move, it only looked at Lin Yu. Kill. Lin Yu only said one word, and the ape moved. With a wave of its hand, the entire heaven and earth extinguishing staff rose into the air. A destructive force swept across the desert, causing space to tremble. When the staff collided with the bone spikes began to crack and shatter. 1 bone. 3. Roar. The eight-tailed sand lizard's roar covered the scorching desert, but the ape couldn't hear it at all. In its eyes, there was only Lin Yu's command. The heaven and earth extinguishing staff fell down and directly hit the eight-tailed sand lizard's rock-hard body. A storm rose in the desert. The heaven and earth extinguishing staff shrunk to 300 feet and the ape swung it again. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. After half a cup of tea's time, he looked down and saw that the eight-tailed sand lizard had become a corpse. Yimingwe was so shocked that she couldn't speak. But at this moment the sky shattered, revealing a dark sky. All the air was sucked out. "Take away the desert," Lin Yu ordered again. Chapter 62. When the ape heard this, he did not hesitate at all. When he waved the heaven and earth obliteration staff again, a majestic suction force swept out. The scorching desert was swept up and rushed into the heaven and earth obliteration staff. Yimingyu stared blankly at the scene. She was shocked that such a large desert had disappeared in an instant. But what shocked her the most was that the ape with the terrifying aura of the invincible realm and the divine weapon actually obeyed Lin Yu's orders. That thing came out of the egg? Yimingyu was afraid that the nine-colored egg she saw just now was just an illusion. Lin Yu saw that the teleportation array had disappeared. He didn't have time to explain to Yimingyu that the sky had collapsed due to the battle between the two unbreakable realm experts. He grabbed Yimingyu's waist, and the latter immediately stuck close to Lin Yu. She only knew that following Lin Yu gave her a sense of security that she had never felt before. This feeling was even stronger than when she was with her father. Even 10,000 suitors like Ling Feng couldn't compare. "Lin Yu, where are we going?" Yimingyu saw that Lin Yu had stepped into the air and arrived at the place where the teleportation array had been destroyed. Lin Yu pointed at the sky and ordered the ape, "Blast this place open." The ape nodded obediently. It waved the heaven and earth obliteration staff, and the terrifying force shattered the space. A teleportation force appeared again. "There's still a little left. Qi Tiandi's teleportation array can only be activated by his item." Lin Yu made a hand seal and pointed at the teleportation array with his finger. Immediately, obsidian qi fused into the array. No, the array is mysterious. Especially since this array came from Qi Tiandi. Although it's damaged and can't be used anymore, it can't be destroyed directly. Yimingyu was worried that Lin Yu would destroy the array on impulse. "There's no time." Lin Yu smiled faintly. Black flames burned in his palm, and he ordered the ape to attack together. With a loud boom, the black fire and the heaven and earth rod exploded at the same time. The void where they were was rolled back. Lin Yu grabbed Yimingyu's slender waist and stepped out of the array in the blink of an eye. This was the only exit. If they were any slower, Yimingwe would see that the place behind them had been completely swallowed by the void. At this moment, as Lin Yu sped up and rushed out of the teleportation array, a divine thought swept past him at the same time. That divine sense seemed to be corporeal, and a pair of eyes opened in the void. It was the figure of a man wearing an emperor's robe. His eyes didn't look like a human's, but two vertical pupils like a demonic beast. Yimingwe looked over and Lin Yu immediately turned around. At the same time, the Divine Will Great Emperor's purple cauldron appeared from his storage ring and enveloped the three of them. "Stay!" The voice of the vertical pupil was filled with rage. His words were the law. His entire spirit rushed over as if he was going to destroy everything. His speed was so fast that it was beyond the level of the unyielding realm. In an instant, Lin Yu and the other two were directly hit by the spirit. At the critical moment, the ape stood behind Lin Yu. The purple cauldron blocked most of the power and made clanging sounds. Some of the remaining power fell on the ape and Yimingwe. The ape was extremely powerful and was unharmed. However, Yimingwe wasn't in her best condition. Now that she was injured by the spirit, she immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Her heart beat faster. She felt that if Lin Yu hadn't summoned the purple cauldron in advance, they wouldn't have been able to block the attack of the spirit. What is that? Yi Mingwei was in a daze and had yet to recover from the shock. Lin Yu shrugged. It's just a strand of spirit left by the great emperor equal to heaven. His seemingly casual words caused Yi Mingyu's mind to explode. The king of the era of emperors. The spirit of the 9 thearchs only existed in legends. However, a legend had appeared in front of her. Just now, she knew that if Lin Yu had been slower, she would have definitely died. It's fine now. Lin Yu checked his injuries. They weren't serious. At most, his blood was boiling and he would need some time to recover. He looked at the ape. It had already jumped onto his shoulder. Are you okay? He remembered that the ape had protected its master just now. The ape shook its head obediently. Lin Yu smiled. Use the Qiankuan staff. The ape immediately understood. The Qiankuan staff enlarged and the two of them sat on it. With the help of the teleportation power, they instantly teleported in the north boundary. Where are we going? Yi Mingwei was in Lin Yu's arms. Her face was a little pale. To the Hongmeng continent. Lin Yu spread out his spirit and checked Yi Mingyue's injuries. He took out Lei Long and Keeper Ling storage rings and took out a large amount of pills. Black flames burned in his palm. The terrifying refining power of the Grand Sun primordial fire exploded. The pills melted at a visible speed. Under the guidance of Lin Yu's fingers, they all melted into Yi Mingyue's flat stomach. Yi Mingyue felt her body burning and pain. It'll be over soon. Bear with it. With that, Lin Yu put Yi Mingwei down and let her meditate to absorb the medicinal energy. They sat on the Qiankuan staff as if they were sitting on the ground. They didn't feel the slightest tremor from the teleportation. Lin Yu checked Keeper Ling's storage ring. There were 800 million glory bot and many other treasures inside. Star-chasing moon-chasing steps. Lin Yu looked at one of the ancient books with interest. With this level of movement technique, if revered Ling can learn it, he'll probably be the winner this time. The ape sat obediently beside Lin Yu. It was like a newborn baby relying on its father. Lin Yu patted its head. However, the star-chasing moon-chasing steps is very difficult to master. I don't think Keeper Ling can master it. Lin Yu kept the loot he got from Keeper Ling and opened Lei Long's storage ring. Other than the medicinal pills he just used, there were also 700 million glory bot in Lei Long's storage ring. There was also a special brocade box. Lin Yu opened the brocade box. There was also a medicinal pill inside. Realm Breaker Pill? Lin Yu smiled. A Realm Breaker Pill that can help a Samsara Realm cultivator enter the Transcendent Realm. It seems like it was prepared for Lei Zong. It's a pity that he's already dead. Yi Mingwei opened her eyes and bowed to Lin Yu. Thank you for saving my life. She looked at Lin Yu with admiration. If it weren't for Lin Yu's pill fusion technique that directly injected the purest medicinal energy into her body, she wouldn't have recovered so quickly. Master Lin's alchemy skills, forging skills, and combat strength are the best I've ever seen. Yi Mingwei subconsciously saw the Realm Breaker Pill. The Transcendent Realm's Realm Breaker Pill. Since you've already adapted to the medicinal energy, do you want to break through? Lin Yu played with the Realm Breaker Pill and asked Yi Mingwei. Master, you can't. My father had helped me find the Realm Breaker Pill before. However, he doesn't recommend using it easily. Yi Mingwei was shocked by his bold words. She was indeed at the peak of the Samsara realm. However, it wasn't easy for her to break through to the Transcendent Realm. My father is worried that something might go wrong. If I fail to break through, my foundation will be damaged. Who knows, I might not even be able to maintain my Samsara realm cultivation. Lin Yu interrupted her and smiled. What if I'm confident? Do you dare to try? This was a test of loyalty. If Yi Mingwei shook her head, she would lose Lin Yu's future nurturing. After breaking free, Lin Yu wanted to obtain the 8 great divine objects. The 8 great divine objects pointed to the most mysterious place in the universe. It was also the only place that Lin Yu couldn't reach in the past 100,000 years. It was because he couldn't obtain the 8 great divine objects within a day. However, it was different now. Lin Yu knew that the moment he obtained the 8 great divine objects, he would reach that place. The entire world would tremble because of him. Chapter 63. However, if the divine item was left behind in the universe, those terrifying forces would be waiting for the divine item to appear. Lin Yu needed stronger subordinates to establish a terrifying force. Only then would he be able to contend against those forces. In the North Starfield, if he wanted to obtain the Nirvana fruit, he had to nurture the 5 members of the Wangxian sect. Now, he had the monkey and the Nirvana Universe staff. Lin Yu's current force was naturally one of the top forces in the Hongmeng continent. However, this wasn't enough. He knew that the moment the Nirvana fruit appeared would be the moment when the 7 Yi Demon Emperor arrived. If he wanted to make preparations to deal with the 7 Yi Demon Emperor, he needed a stronger trump card. Yi Mingyue was conflicted. On one hand, it was her father's instructions. On the other hand, Lin Yu had already given her a choice. If she failed, she would basically be crippled. However, she had only known Lin Yu for a few days, but her admiration for this young man had already surpassed her father. Young Master Lin, Yi Mingyue paused. Lin Yu knew that he was forcing her. However, this was how growth was. Yi Mingyue grew up under Jun Wushang's protection. She still lacked the spirit of adventure. Hence, he was intentionally forcing her. "I'm not forcing you." After speaking, Lin Yu closed his eyes. "No, I'm willing. Please help me enter the transcendent realm." Yi Mingyue's heart tightened. Although Lin Yu gave her the impression that he was only in the samsara realm, Yi Mingyue knew that she wasn't his opponent. Moreover, he was still young, but his methods were sufficient to make Yi Mingyue submit to him. Yi Mingyue, who had always been high and mighty, had become so obedient. Lin Yu nodded. At the same time, the true sun flame appeared again and enveloped the realm breakthrough elixir. "Young master, this elixir is worth at least 1 billion. Yi Mingyue saw that the precious elixir instantly melted. It was as if the black flame had refined the purest medicinal efficacy. "It's fine. It's only 1 billion. If I can make Yi Mingyue trust me, it's worth it." Lin Yu looked at Yi Mingyue with an invasive gaze. Yi Mingyue shrunk back in fear, but in the blink of an eye, the medicine had already entered her body. Yi Mingyue felt a sharp pain. Her breathing quickened as she curled up on the ground. Lin Yu's 5 fingers formed a claw and lifted Yi Mingyue into the air. At the same time, glory chi flowed in his hand and guided the medicinal effects. "Endure it." Yi Mingyue gritted her teeth and endured the pain. But in less than 5 minutes, the pain disappeared and was replaced by an extremely comfortable feeling. "The blocked meridians have all been cleared." Lin Yu retracted his glory chi. At this moment, Yi Mingyue's aura surged, surpassing the 9 flames of the samsara realm. Her entire body was bathed in golden light, as if she were a miniature sun that illuminated the pitch-black starry sky within a radius of several dozen feet. "Thank you, young master." Yi Mingyue was overjoyed. She was sure that she had broken through to the transcendent realm. In her excitement, she hugged Lin Yu. Feeling the softness in front of him, Lin Yu smiled. "You were worried about Night King City just now, right?" Yi Mingyue was stunned. She let go of her hand and nodded to Lin Yu. Her bright eyes were filled with worry. "It's not that Mingyue doesn't believe you, young master. I'm just worried that if I failed to break through, I wouldn't be able to return to help my father. Now, the Thunder and Ling sects are still in Night King City. Don't worry. With the 5 elements Great Array and Night King personally taking action, the Thunder and Ling sect's sect masters are no match for you." "Really?" Yi Mingyue's worried face relaxed. "Has young master also guessed this situation? Miss Yi, you're so mischievous. Did you see it again? Yi Mingyue smiled and nodded. When Elder Xinghe fainted, I saw young master stuffing a note into his hand. Did it say anything about the thunder and Ling sex? Lin Yu replied with He lifted Yi Mingyue's slightly thin chin with a finger. It did say that Night King City should annex the thunder and Ling sex. I also asked Jun Wushang to promise me one thing. What did young master ask my father to promise you? Yi Mingyue's bright eyes turned away. She didn't dare to look at Lin Yu, but she didn't have any disgust towards Lin Yu's actions. She seemed to be used to physical contact with Lin Yu. She had never done this in the past. I helped him annex the Thunder and Ling sex in exchange for his daughter. Young master, Yi Mingyue was shocked. Her delicate body shrank back, and her pretty face immediately flushed. You don't want to follow me? It's just too fast. Yi Mingyue shook her head. Lin Yu smiled. That means you're willing. It's a pity that I don't have much time this time, so I've frightened Miss Yi. Lin Yu, I'm sorry. Young master is brave and wise. You helped Night King City get rid of the enemy and helped Mingyue break through the transcendent realm. We owe young master a favor. The ape looked at the two of them talking back and forth. It couldn't help but scratch its head as if it didn't understand at all. Young master, is it that egg? Lin Yu nodded. He knew that Yi Mingyue had doubts in her heart. It's beyond the 3 realms and not within the 5 elements. It doesn't belong to this universe. Naturally, you wouldn't be able to see the mystery within. Lin Yu knew that if it wasn't so, Night King City wouldn't sell an ape with the strength of an unyielding realm. If Jun Wushang knew about this, he would be more heartbroken than asking for 100 million glory bait. However, Yi Mingyue didn't feel the slightest bit of unwillingness in her heart. Young master saw through it with his strength. Mingyue is convinced. I'm guessing that even if it stays in Night King City, we won't be able to let it be born smoothly, right? You're smart. Lin Yu nodded. It requires some special method. At this moment, the Qiankuan staff slowly stopped. Yi Mingyue turned around and saw a beautiful planet. That's the Hongmeng continent? It's a small place, but it has good things. Yi Mingyue smiled. However, at this moment, she saw hundreds of huge flying soldiers floating outside the Hongmeng continent's starry sky. That's the Great Empress Sex battleship? Yi Mingyue recognized it. Lin Yu rubbed his chin. It seems like something happened in the Hongmeng continent while I was away. The Great Empress Sect. Little monkey, keep the Qiankuan staff. After Lin Yu finished speaking, the 3 of them stepped into the air and left the range of the teleportation array. They approached the Great Empress Sect's battleship. We'll be discovered if we do that. Yi Mingyue reminded him softly. Lin Yu hugged her slender waist and stepped into the air at a strange angle. In an instant, they landed on a battleship. What's that sound? The guards on the battleship were all women. They looked in the direction Lin Yu and the rest came from and saw nothing. Did we see wrongly? The Empress suddenly summoned us this time. Everyone is tired and paranoid. In the corner, Yi Mingyue looked at Lin Yu in shock. Every battleship of such a large sect was surrounded by an array. Once an outsider came close, the array would be activated. However, the path Lin Yu took her in was just a moment ago. Even the array couldn't detect it? At this moment, Lin Yu shushed her. The monkey hid in the storage ring with the Qiankuan staff. Yi Mingyue only heard a man and a woman walking over. With a whoosh, the 2 men fell to the ground. Lin Yu was quick with his eyes and hands, and directly pulled off their clothes. Yi Mingyue blushed. Young master, what are you doing? Chapter 64. Change. Lin Yu found a secluded corner. Change first. I'll keep a lookout for you. Yi Mingyue's heart raced. This was too exciting. You can't look. She didn't think much of it. When she saw Lin Yu turn around, she immediately changed into the Great Empress Sect's Taoist robe. It's done. After Yi Mingyue finished speaking, Lin Yu turned around. The latter's delicate face was a little red. She was obviously shy. Nice figure. However, the Taoist robe was tight, and it also outlined her figure. Young master, be serious. Lin Yu almost wanted to relive the time when he was trapped in the 100,000 years with Yi Mingyue. However, he knew that it was more important to do something serious now. The Great Empress sect is here suddenly. They're definitely not sent by concubine Qin. Lin Yu naturally knew about the Wangxian sect's situation. Only the Crimson Heaven Pavilion or the Sea of Demons would be here. After changing, Lin Yu and Yi Mingyue blended into the Great Empress sect's disciples on the warship. There were more women than men here. Moreover, the men looked a little strange. Why are these men so weird? Yi Mingyue asked curiously. Lin Yu smiled and whispered into Yi Mingyue's ear. Because they've all cut. Cut what? Yi Mingyue was puzzled. How dare you? Suddenly, a woman's voice was heard. She walked over and pushed Lin Yu away with her palm. You're just a eunuch. How dare you come so close to master? Are you courting death? Lin Yu took the opportunity to retreat. Of course, he didn't use his true strength to block it. Otherwise, this woman would have been dead by now. Thank you, senior apprentice sister. Yi Mingyue immediately bowed. She reacted quickly and explained to Lin Yu. I accidentally twisted my ankle. How would he dare to come close? However, when she heard the word eunuch, Yi Mingyue's heart skipped a beat. She understood what Lin Yu meant. Are all the men in the Great Empress sect like that? Sigh, that's good. Junior apprentice sister, why haven't I seen you before? The woman sized Yi Mingyue up. Yi Mingyue bowed again. It's because the Empress suddenly summoned me. I was brought here as soon as I entered the sect, so I was a little scared. Lin Yu smiled, stood up, and waited respectfully without saying anything. Yi Mingyue, this little girl, was obviously very good as well. She spoke with great familiarity. He could make use of the words of the two Great Empress sect members who were knocked unconscious just now. As expected, the woman did not suspect Yi Mingyue at all. So you're new. Junior sister, what's your name? You haven't bathed yet, right? Mingyue. Yi Mingyue nodded. Of course, she wouldn't ask what a bath was. Otherwise, it would be hard to avoid giving himself away. Not today. That was the only reply she could give. She and Lin Yu were travel-worn, and the clothes they had snatched were a little tight. Naturally, they knew that the other party had seen through them. Mingyue, come with me then. After saying that, the woman pulled Yi Mingyue away and turned around to glare at Lin Yu angrily. Trash, what are you waiting for? Master wants to bathe. Don't you know what to do? I know. Lin Yu immediately nodded and followed them into the bathhouse. As soon as they entered, Yi Mingyue was stunned by the hazy scene and the woman's laughter. Bathing was fine, but Lin Yu followed them in. Of course, she knew that Lin Yu didn't do it on purpose. However, before long, the woman had taken off her clothes, walked into the steaming hot pool, and waved at her. Junior sister Mingyue, what are you waiting for? Yi Mingyue blushed and glanced at Lin Yu. What are you afraid of? The woman immediately reacted. She looked down on Lin Yu and smiled disdainfully. These incomplete men are nothing more than our slaves. It is their blessing to serve us in our daily life and bathing. Yi Mingyue nodded. She knew that she had no choice. She could only take off her clothes and jump into the pool. Lin Yu sighed in his heart. It wasn't like he hadn't seen it before. However, Yi Mingyue's figure was much better than that female disciple's. The Empress is about to hold the selection of her successor. Junior sister, do you have anyone in mind? The woman said as if she was referring to something. In the steaming hot air, Yi Mingyue felt her heart racing. She was not in the mood to reply to Lin Yu, who was pouring water for her. Don't pour it. Come and help me wipe my body. The woman ordered. Lin Yu shrugged. He had no choice. He picked up the soft gauze and wiped Yi Mingyue's back. Yi Mingyue's body trembled. She had never let another man touch her hand in her life. However, she had been in contact with Lin Yu for the past few days. Now they were still, the progress was so fast that she couldn't get used to it. However, not only did Yi Mingyue have no other choice, she even had to thank him. Thank you, senior sister. It's a small matter. If you don't have enough slaves in the future, you can find me. After all, I'm responsible for distributing them in the sect. The woman smiled embarrassedly and rolled her eyes. The sect master has decided to choose between me and Zhang Balian. When the time comes, the entire sect will vote. I hope that junior sister can help. Yi Mingyue finally understood why this female disciple was so enthusiastic towards her. She was trying to get vote. Leave it to me. Other than me, there are a few new sisters. Mingyue will ask them to support senior sister. All right. If you can suppress that bitch Zhang Balian, you will be my good sisters. Xiao Mei was overjoyed. Yi Mingyue seized the opportunity. Sigh, I just entered the sect. I wonder if we will be in danger on this trip to the Hongmeng continent? Her face was filled with worry. Xiao Mei knew that she had to maintain the trust of these newcomers. She patted Yi Mingyue's back. She wanted to comfort her, but she accidentally touched Lin Yu's hand. Once he touched it, it would be disastrous. Xiao Mei took another look at Lin Yu. She suddenly felt that this slave was extraordinarily handsome. His fingers were slender and strong. These fingers could make a woman happy. Xiao Mei couldn't help but sigh in her heart. What a pity. Junior sister, don't worry. With senior sister here, everything will be fine. Xiao Mei smiled. Junior sister, you don't know. This time, the Empress was invited by the Demon Sea's Demon Lord. The Demon Lord has already instigated a war between the Crimson Heaven Pavilion and the Forgotten Immortal Sect. What we need to do is to reap the benefits when the two sects are heavily injured. Yi Mingyue had also heard that Lin Yu was from the Forgotten Immortal Sect. Her heart tightened as she looked at Lin Yu. However, she saw that he was still calm. She couldn't see any fluctuations in his emotions. Terrifying. Yi Mingyue remembered that Lin Yu was also calm when he faced the death of those around him outside the Night King city. She had never seen Lin Yu panic and worry. It was as if nothing could affect his emotions. Senior sister, what's the situation with the Crimson Heaven Pavilion and the Forgotten Immortal Sect? Yi Mingyue calmed herself down and asked again. In order to win people's hearts, Xiao Mei said everything she knew. The war has already started. However, I heard that the Crimson Heaven Pavilion lost a sect master. They won't be able to take down the Forgotten Immortal Sect in a short period of time. This time, we're not the only ones here. Even the Flying Immortal Sect will be here to take a share of the loot. Yi Mingyue's heart tightened. The situation didn't seem good. Senior sister, what power does the Demon Lord have to make us and the Flying Immortal Sect attack the Hongmeng continent at the same time? Xiao Mei smiled like a big sister teaching a little sister. I've heard that there's a Dao River in the Grand Mist continent. The Devil Master is determined to obtain the treasures in the Dao River. If the Devil Master instigates a war between the Crimson Firmament Sect and the Forgotten Immortal Sect, the spoils of war will belong to us. In other words, we're responsible for swallowing the Crimson Heaven Pavilion and the Forgotten Immortal Sect. The Demon Lord can take the treasures in the Dao River without any worries. Chapter 65. I heard from the Empress that the Hongmeng continent was going to hold the Hongmeng duel in 10 days to allow all the sects to enter the Dao River in a fair way. But obviously, they didn't expect the Devil Lord of the Sea of Demons to be so impatient. Yi Mingyue looked surprised, but she was more worried about Lin Yu's sect. The Devil Lord made the first move and used us to stall the two strongest sects in the Hongmeng continent. How impressive. Junior sister is right. The Empress told me personally that the Devil Lord was the most terrifying person she had ever seen. Also, he didn't seem human at all. Yi Mingyue took a deep breath. Even the sect master of the Empress sect was afraid of him. Was this the opponent Lin Yu was going to face this time? Xiao Mei smiled greedily. If this goes well, the Empress sect's resources will be doubled. I heard that the supreme clear pool of the Forgotten Immortal sect is the best place to temper one's body. Junior sister, you know that our bodies can't compare to those stinky men. So, the Empress's main target is the Forgotten Immortal sect. Just as she finished speaking, she heard a chuckle. It wasn't Yi Mingyue who spoke, but Lin Yu. The two turned around and saw Lin Yu shaking his head and sighing. I'm afraid the Devil Lord wants to use the Empress sect to stall the Forgotten, Immortal and Crimson Firmament before swallowing the other 4 sections. Impudent! What does a stinky slave like you know? Xiao Mei hated talking to these eunuchs. However, Lin Yu only smirked. He had learned about this Xiao Mei when he was trapped, but he wasn't interested in knowing more about her because her appearance didn't even reach 9 points. Sister Mei please calm down. Lin Yu imitated the tone of the eunuchs. I heard that the Sea of Demons used to have 4 Devil Lords. The current Devil Lord is a demonic creature that was born when one of the Devil Lords was possessed by an evil spirit and ate the other 3 Devil Lords. Xiao Mei wanted to insult Lin Yu, but she was stunned by his words. Where did you get this information from? She naturally didn't know about this. Perhaps even the Empress didn't know. I once had a friend in the Sea of Demons. Later on, he escaped from the Hong Meng continent on a battleship. We met once. Lin Yu casually made up a story. Demon Lord is indeed not human, and he is extremely ambitious. The things in the Dao River can greatly enhance his cultivation. The current Demon Lord's cultivation has probably reached the 7 Suns transcendent realm. If he obtains the things in the Dao River, his combat power can reach the invincible realm. By then, Xiao Mei was shocked. She stood up with a face full of shock. She wasn't sure how powerful the Devil Master was, but since the Empress was afraid of him, he naturally wouldn't be weak. If what the eunuch in front of him said was true. Once the Devil Lord's plan succeeded, his battle power would reach the unshakable realm. Then wouldn't the great Empress sect be in danger? My friend originally wanted to report this matter to Senior Apprentice Sister Zhang Bailian, but unfortunately, he was unlucky and died before he could see Senior Apprentice Sister Zhang Bailian. So now, only I know about this matter. Lin Yu chuckled. He naturally knew Xiao Mei's weakness. Xiao Mei immediately laughed when she heard the name of her nemesis. She reached out and touched Lin Yu's hand. Perfect fingers. Sigh, what a pity. She sighed in her heart. Okay, if it's true, you've done a great service. Xiao Mei put on her clothes and hurriedly left. Before she left, she didn't forget to remind the two. I have to leave for a while. Wait for me here. Don't leave. After she finished speaking, she was already gone. Yi Mingyu immediately turned around and looked at Lin Yu. Young master, is what you said true? Of course it's true. Then why don't we use this information to gain the Empress's trust ourselves? Yi Mingyu didn't understand. This might also be able to stop the great Empress sect and save the Forgotten Immortal sect. Lin Yu shrugged. Isn't it good to let her do it? Yi Mingyu shook her head. No, Xiao Mei will definitely take all the credit. By then, we still won't have the right to speak. Lin Yu handed Yi Mingyu's clothes over. I've rubbed Miss Ye's upper body. It's about time to put on your clothes. Yi Mingyu blushed and subconsciously covered her front with her hands. Young master, turn around. Lin Yu naturally did as he was told. At the same time, he reminded her in advance. Someone will come looking for us in a while. There's no need for a small character like Xiao Mei to exist. Yi Mingyu's body trembled. After putting on her clothes, she couldn't help but laugh. Looks like young master has a plan. Everything is within your calculations. Yi Mingyu had seen Lin Yu's strategy before. Now that Lin Yu deliberately told Xiao Mei about this, Yi Mingyu believed that he must be planning something. Thinking of this, Yi Mingyu subconsciously looked forward to it. Being with a man like Lin Yu was much more exciting than doing business in the Night King city. On the other side, in the largest warship of the Great Empress sect, Xiao Mei-er arrived with a face full of excitement and panic. In the blink of an eye, she entered the warship. After a round of words, Xiao Mei-er clenched her fists and said, "Mei-er is speaking the truth. With the current situation, it's really not appropriate for us to support the Sea of Demons." In front of her, there were two women. One of them stood at the side. She was Zhang Balian, who sat with Ling Feng at the Night King City auction. The other woman sat on a high seat. She wore an imperial robe and looked down at Xiao Mei-er coldly. "Who told you about the Demon Lord's identity?" This woman was the Great Empress Ling Feiyu, a slave. What treasure in the Path River can allow a Seven Suns transcendent realm to break through to the invincible realm? This disciple doesn't know. Ling Feiyu was furious. Just because of a slave's words, you want me to be afraid and give up the forgotten immortal sect to the damned flying immortal sect? Xiao Mei-er only realized that something was wrong. She was so scared that she immediately knelt down. This disciple heard from that slave that the treasure in the Path River, the Demon Lord. She then realized that she didn't even ask for the real information. She couldn't wait to claim credit. Damn it, she knew that she was too anxious and immediately knelt down in front of Ling Feiyu. "I'll go and ask again." "No need." Ling Feiyu's gaze swept over and landed on Xiao Mei-er. Xiao Mei-er was sent flying and spat out a mouthful of blood. She was so scared that she kept kowtowing. This disciple knows her mistake. This disciple knows her mistake. "Balian, go and find that slave." "Yes." Beside Ling Feiyu, Zhang Balian looked at Xiao Mei-er as if she was watching a show. She only felt happy. This idiot actually believed the slave's words and asked the Great Empress to retreat without even asking clearly? She was so stupid. Not to mention, the flying immortal sect that the Great Empress hated the most was here too. Xiao Mei-er actually wanted the Great Empress to give up the forgotten immortal sect to her enemy? She was so stupid. After leaving the Great Empress ship, Zhang Balian went to the bathhouse. She was hesitant. Xiao Mei-er didn't seem like such a stupid person. She seemed to have been tricked by the slave. But how could a mere eunuch slave do that? "Get out of there." Zhang Balian didn't go in immediately. But after waiting for a long time, she didn't hear a reply. Zhang Balian felt strange and stepped into the bathhouse. She was already used to the environment here. But suddenly, a palm energy went straight for her throat. It was so fast that it surpassed all the opponents Zhang Balian had met. "Who's there?" Zhang Balian instinctively retreated. But she couldn't dodge in time. Her neck was held tightly by the palm. Even breathing was difficult for her. Chapter 66. In the next moment she was sucked in, and no one could see anything from the outside. "If you dare to call for help, you'll die." Lin Yu smiled faintly. How could Zhang Balian not recognize Lin Yu? This demon king dared to kill Ling Feng and his two transcendent realm guardians. How could he appear here? "You, young Master Lin, don't kill me?" Zhang Balian was terrified. She had seen Lin Yu kill before. Zhang Balian was sure that she would be dead for sure if she was the one doing it. It was as if she was crushing an ant. "If I wanted to kill you, I wouldn't have given you a present." Lin Yu swung his hand, and Zhang Balian flew out and fell to the ground. She quickly got up and saw that not only was Lin Yu here, but Yi Mingyue was also standing beside him. "Did Xiao Mei-er really fall for the two of you?" Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. "Do you want to be the second Xiao Mei-er?" Zhang Balian immediately shook her head. She knew Lin Yu's methods. Not to mention, there was also the famous Yi Mingyue. "Ling Feiyu sent you here to find us. Once Xiao Mei-er loses her favor, you would be the best successor." Lin Yu's words directly touched on what Zhang Balian was most concerned about. "Thank you for your help, Young Master Lin. Zhang Bailian cupped her fists and said, I wonder how young Master Lin knew that we were here? Lin Yu smiled. What you want to ask is probably something that Xiao Mei didn't finish asking, right? Zhang Bailian was shocked. Lin Yu was indeed extraordinary. He was stronger than all the younger generation she had met. Young Master Lin is right. If young Master Lin can tell me, Bailian is willing to pay a price. She and Xiao Mei both wanted to find an opportunity to kill each other. Lin Yu took advantage of this and gave Xiao Mei, who was eager to win, some benefits. He wanted to defeat one of them first. This matter can't be explained in a few words. If you make a mistake, I'm afraid you'll end up like Xiao Mei. Lin Yu laughed disdainfully, especially since the Flying Immortal sect is here. You should know what the Empress hates the most, right? Zhang Bailian was startled and nodded gently. However, her heart was in turmoil. Even though she was the closest disciple of the Empress, she had only heard a little about this matter. Lin Yu, an outsider, actually knew about it? All right, I'll go see the Empress personally. Her orders should be for you to bring me there, right? Lin Yu asked. Zhang Bailian nodded. Young Master Lin, this matter, the credit is yours. Lin Yu smiled faintly. Now that she had the chance to pull Xiao Mei down, Zhang Bailian naturally wouldn't let go of this opportunity so easily. Lin Yu continued, but I want you to promise me one thing. Please speak, young master. Yi Mingyu also looked at Lin Yu curiously, thinking that this guy had guessed everything correctly again. Ever since she met Lin Yu, everything that happened was within Lin Yu's expectations. I want the Flying Immortal shoes of the Flying Immortal sect. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Zhang Bailian was surprised. Young master, what's that? The Flying Immortal sect's most valuable treasure, which is currently in He Dao's hands. He Dao was the successor of the Flying Immortal sect, who sat with Ling Feng and Zhang Bailian at the Night King City auction. Zhang Bailian was stunned. This, I might not be able to get such an important treasure. Lin Yu shrugged. Your relationship with the Flying Immortal sect, or rather, your relationship with He Dao, I don't need to say more, right? Zhang Bailian's legs went soft and she almost knelt down. She hurriedly said, Young master, I didn't lose my chastity. She didn't expect Lin Yu to know her biggest secret. Zhang Bailian was completely flustered. Even Yi Mingyu looked at Lin Yu in surprise. Her eyes flashed with curiosity. Lin Yu smiled. If you lost your chastity, I don't need to deal with you. The fury of the 7 Yi Demon Emperor should be enough to burn the Flying Immortal sect and the Great Empress sect to ashes, right? Zhang Bailian's face turned pale. Young master is right, young master is right. He Dao once poisoned me. Helpless, I could only pretend to agree with him. Once the time is right, I will agree to his request. Lin Yu smiled. It's just a small poison. I can cure it, but you have to do my request. Zhang Bailian was still in a difficult position. Young master, please forgive me. The Flying Immortal sect and the Great Empress sect are cooperating. I can't do anything. Furthermore, with my cultivation, I might not be a match for He Dao. No worries, I will give you the opportunity. Lin Yu didn't say anything else and walked out of the bathhouse. Yi Mingyu followed closely behind. Zhang Bailian didn't understand. However, since Lin Yu said that he would give her the opportunity, she had no choice but to follow. The three of them arrived at the Great Empress's warship. Lin Yu entered and sighed in his heart. He hadn't seen Ling Feiyu for a long time. After being trapped for 100,000 years, he understood this pitiful woman. There was always a scar in her heart. Lead the way. Lin Yu ordered Zhang Bailian. Zhang Bailian nodded immediately. Even though this was her home ground, Lin Yu's aura, strategy, and benefits were enough to make Zhang Bailian treat him with respect. Master, young Master Lin. That slave is here. Zhang Bailian didn't know how to address Lin Yu anymore. How did you know at the Dao River? The Great Empress originally had her eyes closed. Xiao Mei was so frightened that she didn't dare to make a sound. She could only kneel on the ground, afraid that the great Empress would kill her the moment she opened her eyes. There are too many people here. Do you really want me to tell you? Lin Yu said lightly. The great Empress slowly opened her eyes and looked at Lin Yu. However, he didn't kneel in fear like the others. Instead, he looked at her calmly. Why not? The great Empress asked. Her first instinct was that this young man in front of her was not an ordinary slave. This was the instinct of an expert. Lin Yu shrugged. 17 years ago, the Flying Immortal Sect Master had 2 disciples. One was called Zhang Qin, and the other was called Ling. Shut up! Ling Feiyu stood up abruptly and looked at Lin Yu with anger. She wore an imperial robe and had been in a high position for many years. She already had the aura of a superior. At this moment, this aura seemed to be able to kill Lin Yu. Zhang Bailuyan didn't expect this to happen. She was so frightened that she knelt down as well. Yi Mingyu looked nervous. She subconsciously pulled Lin Yu's hand. Her palms were sweaty. However, Lin Yu was calm and composed. Instead, he scratched Yi Mingyu's slender fingers twice. Yi Mingyu felt ticklish, and her nervousness suddenly disappeared. What you said might get you killed. Are you sure? The great Empress asked. She was sure that this young man wasn't a slave. He wasn't even an ordinary person. Why would such a person appear in the great Empress Sect's warship without her noticing? Instead, he sent himself to her door. Lin Yu didn't comment and nodded. All right. Ling Feiyu waved her sleeves and signaled everyone to leave. Soon, only Lin Yu and Ling Feiyu were left in the warship. Chapter 67. Lin Yu smiled and didn't want to waste any more time. Daoist Fei's 2 disciples fell in love, but because of Daoist Fei's objection, the 2 disciples left the Flying Immortal Sect at the same time and established their own sect. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. He knew that Ling Feiyu's anger could burn him to death at any time. But he didn't panic at all because he knew this woman. He knew her from the inside out. Originally, this matter had come to an end. After all, the 2 disciples relied on their own efforts to pass the test set by Daoist Fei. They had left the Flying Immortal Sect legitimately. It wasn't a betrayal. But it's a pity. Lin Yu sighed softly. Many years later, Daoist Fei couldn't find a more suitable disciple, so he found another 2 disciples, hoping that they would return to the Flying Immortal Sect. But Zhang Qin and Ling Feiyu were already used to living a carefree life. How could they return? When she heard her name, Ling Feiyu slumped back into the dragon throne. Lin Yu continued. That night, who would have thought that Daoist Fei would be so angry that he would kill Zhang Qin? The most unnatural thing is that he has always been jealous of Zhang Qin for marrying Ling Feiyu. Because of that, he has long been lustful to this beautiful female disciple of his. Shut up. Ling Feiyu was furious. Her figure suddenly appeared in front of Lin Yu. One of her hands had already landed on Lin Yu's throat. If she used a little more force, Lin Yu would definitely die. At the same time, the storage ring vibrated. Lin Yu sent a voice transmission to calm the ape. Otherwise, the heaven and earth extinguishing staff would have already swept across and overturned this battlefield. In fact, Lin Yu could rely on the ape, the puppet, and Yi Mingyue to fight the Empress Sect. If he went all out, he would have a chance to drive the Empress Sect away. But Lin Yu knew that it was too reckless. Even if he could drive the Empress Sect away, the Flying Immortal Sect wouldn't be able to stop them, and they wouldn't be able to save the Wangxian Sect. Now, Lin Yu was already doing the best thing. You can kill me, but the person you want to kill the most is not me, but Daoist Fei. Lin Yu smiled faintly. He was not afraid of dying in Ling Feiyu's hands at all. Ling Feiyu was shocked by this. He has guts. I want to kill him. So what? There was helplessness in Ling Feiyu's voice. Lin Yu knew that Ling Feiyu had taken the bait. He smiled and said, I know you're no match for him. But what if you borrow the power of the Wangxian clan? Ling Feiyu frowned. You're from the Wangxian clan? Yes. Lin Yu didn't hide anything. Our forgotten immortal sect has long known about the Demon Lord's plan. The item in the Dao River can help the Demon Lord break through to the unresolvable realm or even higher. When that happens, no force in the Hongmeng continent will be able to withstand the power of the demonic Devil Sea. Ling Feiyu's pretty face looked terrible as she said, "What exactly is in the Path River?" What she was most curious about was that there was something in this world that could help people break through to the unresolvable realm or even higher. If there was, why was the Hongmeng continent just a small force in the North Starfield? The Nirvana fruit, Lin Yu said directly. Ling Feiyu obviously didn't know what the Nirvana fruit was. Lin Yu continued, in the ancient times when the universe was first created, a total of 8 divine items were born. The power of these divine items can destroy the universe or create a new universe. Simply put, they are the strongest force in the universe. Ling Feiyu was shocked when she heard the name of the 8 divine items. They were things that only existed in ancient books, and there were very few descriptions. She didn't know much about them. She even thought that there was no such thing. Is the thing in the Path River a divine item? Ling Feiyu asked. Lin Yu shook his head. A complete divine item. Any one of them isn't something that the Hongmeng continent or even the North Starfield can withstand. It's just one of the divine items, one of the thousands of fruits of the Nirvana tree. Ling Feiyu was shocked. Even if it was just a fruit, it was still very attractive to her. After all, power was the principle and justice of this world. I advise you not to have any ideas about the Nirvana fruit. Lin Yu interrupted her desire and warned, the Demon Lord covets the Nirvana fruit. The 7 Yi Demon Emperor will also descend on the Hongmeng continent the moment the Nirvana fruit appears. The 7 Yi Demon Emperor. Ling Feiyu's eyes widened. The overlord of the North Starfield. He also knows about the Nirvana fruit? Lin Yu smiled helplessly. The Nirvana fruit exists with the Path River. He seized the Path River from the West World. He has been waiting for the day when the Nirvana fruit ripens. How could he not know? West World. Could it be that the Ink Dragon Emperor died because of this? Lin Yu nodded. When the Ink Dragon Emperor was dying, he obtained the Nirvana fruit's core and planted it in the Path River. However, it was discovered by the 7 Yi Demon Emperor. This is also why the West World Starfield was divided into 2 parts. One part was merged into the North World, and the other part was merged into the South World. Lin Yu recalled the past of the Starfields he knew. The current 3 Starfields were only the North World, the South World, and the East World. As for the West World, after the death of the Ink Dragon Emperor, who had once walked out of the Azure Supreme Pure Palace, it was separated and merged into other Starfields. You actually know the secrets of so many Starfields. Who are you? Ling Feiyu increasingly felt that this person was not simple. Lin Yu, the little saint king of the forgotten immortal sect. It's enough that you know this. Lin Yu was too lazy to explain further. The Crimson Heaven Pavilion is no match for the forgotten immortal sect. I will cooperate with you after the battle between the Forgotten Immortal Sect and the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. At that time, with the help of the Forgotten Immortal Sect's power, you will have a chance to take Daoist Fei's life. After Lin Yu finished speaking, Ling Feiyu couldn't help but feel her heart beating faster. How can I believe you? You only have one chance. If you miss it, you will want to take revenge on Daoist Fei. With your current cultivation, you may be able to catch up with him in 20 years. Lin Yu certainly knew Ling Feiyu's weakness. He continued with a smile. At that time, maybe Daoist Fei will be dead. Or maybe he will break through to the invincible realm before that. The one who will die will be you, Ling Feiyu. Lin Yu approached Ling Feiyu and said seriously, with your master's lust, what do you think will happen to the Empress sect? Ling Feiyu took a step back, breathing quickly. She said directly, "Deal." "Great." Lin Yu finished speaking and turned to leave. He had more important things to do now. "Wait." Ling Feiyu stopped him. "How do you know about me? The intelligence of the forgotten immortal sect shouldn't be that good." Lin Yu felt helpless. In the past 100,000 years when he was trapped, he used the same method to make Ling Feiyu have sex with him. "Are you going to tell me now that you told me that on the bed?" "You don't have to worry about that." After Lin Yu finished speaking, he left the warship. Yimingwei was waiting outside. When she saw Lin Yu coming out safely, she heaved a sigh of relief and followed Lin Yu out. "Young master," Zhang Balian called out to Lin Yu worriedly. "Go on in. You've done your part, but remember what you've promised me." After speaking, Lin Yu brought Yimingwei out of the warship and headed straight to the Hongmeng continent. The ape and the puppet appeared at the same time. Lin Yu said, "Help me with something." Chapter 68. All right. Yimingwei nodded without any hesitation. She knew that this was a crucial moment for the Wangxian sect. Lin Yu scratched Yimingwei's chin. "Good girl. You and my puppet will go to the Wangxian sect first. After defeating the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, save your strength to help the Empress sect. Is that okay?" Yimingwei blushed. Lin Yu's intimate action made her heart race. "No problem. What about you?" Lin Yu smiled. "I'm going to meet the Devil Lord." Yimingwei's heart tightened. "Should I inform father to come over?" Lin Yu shook his head. "He still has to clean up the mess of the Thunder and Ling sects. No need." "What about Qin Wunyan? The Azure Supreme Purity Palace might be able to help you." Yimingwei was really worried about Lin Yu. Although she had never seen the Devil Lord before, judging from the Empress's fearful attitude, the Devil Lord was probably more terrifying than Keeper Ling and Lei Long. The Azure Supreme Purity Palace will be in trouble. In a few days, Qin Wunyan will face an unprecedented test. Let him prepare first. Lin Yu's eyes seemed to see through everything. He touched her head gently, knowing that this beauty was very concerned about him. "Don't worry. The Devil Lord is no match for me." His tone was incomparably serious. Yimingwei had never seen such a confident person. Even when facing an opponent who was much stronger than him, Lin Yu still had this kind of confidence. However, Yimingwei did not think that he was arrogant at all. Instead, she believed that Lin Yu could do it. They split into two groups. Yimingwei brought along a puppet that looked exactly like Lin Yu and rushed towards the forgotten immortal sect. At this moment, the battlefield outside the Wangxian sect was in chaos. The dragon trapping net covered the ground, blocking the attacks of many Crimson Heaven Pavilion experts. However, at the same time, the disciples of the Wangxian sect were also in a tough battle. A long spear swept across the ground, and the cry of a phoenix echoed in all directions. Lu Wuhan's lips curled up. "Brother Long, I've killed 200 people, more than you." On the other side, a dragon's roar was heard. At the same time, the will of the blade soared into the sky and slashed down. Several disciples of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion were cut in half. Long Lin said indifferently, "I killed 250 people." Lu Wuhan coughed dryly and once again erupted with his full strength. On the other side, the battle between Qin Ji and the second leader of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion, Yan Zun, had begun. Both of them were injured, but it was difficult to determine the winner. "Today, the forgotten immortal sect will perish," Yan Zun said coldly. At this moment, he felt a sharp pain in his head. Qin Ji's ultimate dream technique had injured him. The Crimson Heaven Pavilion will be destroyed. Qin Ji's pretty face was full of anger. Although there were many casualties in front of her, she was glad that Lin Yu had appeared in the past few days. He had increased the overall combat power of the Forgotten Immortal sect by a lot. Lu Wuhan and Long Lin blocked the core strength of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. A few elders cooperated with Xian Yu and temporarily restrained the first leader of the Forgotten Immortal sect. As for the others, Yang Qing and Sword Maniac used the heavenly derivation Sword Art to open up a path. They charged straight into the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's camp. The situation was chaotic, but Qin Ji couldn't bear to see the Forgotten Immortal sect's disciples fall one after another. But at this moment 2 figures descended from the sky. Yi Mingyue waved a jade belt filled with glorious aura and swept it across the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's disciples as she approached them. Rumble! The disciples exploded and died. They didn't even have the chance to react. Transcendent Realm. Where did the Forgotten Immortal sect get reinforcements from the Transcendent Realm? Damn it! She's coming towards us. Yi Mingyue's expression was cold. This was Lin Yu's hometown. She didn't know why, but when she saw the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's people invading here, she felt sullen. Soul Shredding Silk kill. The jade-colored Soul Shredding Silk shot out once again. A few Samsara Realm disciples wanted to block it. However, the moment their weapons came into contact with the Soul Shredding Silk, all of them exploded. With a bang, all of them vomited blood. Spiritual artifact. That's a spiritual artifact. Damn it. A Transcendent Realm expert with a spiritual artifact. Who are you? The Crimson Heaven Pavilion's people retreated sullenly. Yi Mingyue couldn't be bothered with them. Her entire body shone with golden radiance. When Yang Qing and the others saw this, they knew that Yi Mingyue wasn't an enemy. They quickly executed the 10th style of the heavenly derivation Sword Art. 2 horrifying sword auras slashed down from the sky and swept away the pursuers behind Yi Mingyue. The battle suddenly became one-sided. There weren't many Transcendent Realm experts in the Hongmeng continent. However, the Forgotten Immortal sect had a Transcendent Realm expert with a spiritual artifact. Yi Mingyue's powerful combat strength had changed the entire situation. When Qin Ji saw this, she was overjoyed. Suddenly, Yen Zun launched a sneak attack and slammed his palm towards her. I'll kill you first. Then, I'll kill that woman. Seeing Yi Mingyue suddenly joining the battle and killing many of his Crimson Heaven Pavilion's people, Yen Zun was enraged. He launched a sneak attack with all his might, and Qin Ji couldn't react in time. As she retreated, his palm force was already nearing her. *T. When Qin Ji was in a life-or-death situation, Yen Zun laughed sinisterly. He thought that his attack would be able to severely injure the Forgotten Immortal sect's sect master. Suddenly, Yen Zun lowered his head and saw a slender long sword appear in front of his chest like a ghost. How is this possible? Yen Zun spat out a mouthful of blood. His glory chi dispersed. He saw the tip of the sword, which meant that the sword had already pierced through his body. Whoosh! The second sword. The third sword. The fourth sword. The shocking hibernation sword pierced through him like a rainstorm. Yen Zun didn't even have the chance to turn around. He could only feel his vitality being depleted by the sword. Who are you? Yen Zun's voice stopped in midair. He was already slammed down by the puppet's fist. Bang! In the blink of an eye, the Crimson Heaven Pavilion's second sect master, a 3 Suns Transcendent Realm expert, became a corpse that couldn't be any more dead. Lin Yu. Qin Ji was overjoyed. When she was about to approach, she felt that something was amiss. It's a puppet. She was a little disappointed. She looked around and didn't see the real Lin Yu. The puppet didn't have any consciousness. In the next moment, it was already heading towards Extermination Sect Master. Damn it. Who are you? 2 Transcendent Realm experts appeared at the same time. Their combat strength was so strong that they killed a sect master. Extermination Sect Master forced Xiao Mingke, Xian Yu, and the others to retreat at the same time. However, the puppet received the order to kill them all. The shocking hibernation sword landed at a close distance. Extermination Sect Master's eyes were filled with murderous intent. You're courting death. In an instant, his entire body shone with golden light. He lifted his palm, and 5 sun phantoms bloomed with dazzling light. A 5 suns transcendent realm expert fought with all his might at close range. With a loud bang, it hit the puppet's chest. Extermination sect master sneered in his heart. He thought that this thing was careless after killing Yen Zun. However, he instantly felt that something was amiss. The shocking hibernation sword didn't stop at all. Whoosh! A bloody light flashed. Extermination sect master spat out a mouthful of blood. His right arm was cut off. Damn it! Damn it! Spiritual artifact profound armor. 7-colored light flashed on the puppet's body. It was the indestructible profound armor that neutralized most of the force from his palm. Even if the puppet suffered some injuries, it didn't affect its combat strength. He didn't feel anything at all. However, Extermination Sect Master lost an arm. Extermination Sect Master was shocked. He quickly ordered his troops to retreat. However, Long Lin, Lu Wuhan, Yi Mingyue, Yang Qing, and Sword Fanatic had already surrounded him. Chapter 69. Guqinji stepped down from the sky and used the ultimate dream technique. Above the sky, a spiritual sense turned into a sword and slashed down. When Lord Extermination wanted to dodge, the puppets and others in all directions attacked at the same time. With a bang, the ultimate dream technique hit Lord Extermination's head. No! Lord Extermination's spiritual sense was instantly shattered, and he let out a shrill cry. He regretted it. He shouldn't have been instigated by the Demon Lord to attack the Wangxian sect. The 3 forces originally kept each other in check. However, the Demon Lord promised him that as long as the Crimson Heaven Pavilion could take down the Wangxian sect, the Sea of Demons wouldn't divide the spoils obtained from the Wangxian sect. Moreover, the Demon Lord told Lord Extermination that Guqinji's cultivation had regressed, and he had a spy in the Wangxian sect. This made Lord Extermination greedy. He wanted to swallow the Wangxian sect, but he failed. The result of his failure was that the entire Crimson Heaven Pavilion would be buried here. Demon Lord, you lied to me! Lord Extermination's entire body fell to the ground. When the rest of the Crimson Heaven Pavilion saw this, they fled in fear. The sect master is dead. The sect master is dead. Run, run quickly! The puppet squinted his eyes. With the shocking hibernation sword in hand, the transcendent realm cultivation erupted. A war had now turned into a massacre. That's the little sacred king? The little sacred king is back. The little sacred king is back. Lu Wuhan and Long Lin looked at each other. Their blood was boiling. The battle ended as soon as that guy returned? With the little sacred king here, it seems that we don't have to compete. He will win for sure. The 2 smiled helplessly. Just as they were about to join the puppet, they saw a bloody scene on the other side of the sky. Guqinji and the others immediately looked over. In the direction of the Sea of Demons, the entire sea of blood rose into the sky like an overwhelming blood dragon, directly crossing the sky. That direction is the Path River. Guqinji was stunned. Is that the Demon Lord's goal? She had a bad feeling. However, as the Sea of Demons crossed the sky and headed towards the Path River, 2 terrifying forces also descended at this moment above the Wangxian sect. Not bad, not bad. It's indeed a mess. Ling Feiyu stood at the front of the warship with her hands behind her back and a cold smile on her face. On the other side, in front of the dozens of warships of the Flying Immortal School, a white-haired old man looked at her greedily. Empress, long time no see. It was as if he wanted to swallow Ling Feiyu whole. Ling Feiyu smiled and said nothing. The 2 forces arrived at the gate of the Wangxian clan at the same time. They don't have good intentions. Lu Wuhan waved the Phoenix Song spear in his hand, and Qin Ji also stepped out. You are. Daoist Fei snickered, When the sandpiper and the clam fight, the fisherman benefits. Naturally, we are the fishermen. Everyone in the Forgotten Immortal sect was shocked. The entire army of the Flying Celestial sect mobilized and began to attack the devastated Forgotten Celestial sect. But at this moment, the Great Empress sect suddenly launched an attack. Zhang Balian took the lead and went to the rear of the Flying Immortal sect's warship. The Great Empress has ordered that no one from the Flying Immortal sect will be left alive. Damn it! Ling Feiyu, what are you trying to do? Taoist Fei asked when he saw the sudden change in the situation. What am I trying to do? It's time to take revenge for being late by 10 years. Ling Feiyu's expression was cold as she stepped into the air. Taoist Fei, however, did not place her in his eyes. You? Then I'll show you the difference between a master and a disciple. Taoist Fei stepped out and his aura suddenly skyrocketed. 7 suns transcendent realm, 8 suns transcendent realm. 8 sun phantoms suddenly appeared behind him. In the Forgotten Immortal sect, the puppet also went to Yi Mingyue's side. Everyone thought that he was the little sacred king. Only Qin Ji knew the puppet's true identity. But Qin Ji knew that the puppet's actions were all instructed by Lin Yu. Yi Mingyue immediately shouted, "Pass down the little sacred king's order. Help the Great Empress sect to kill the Flying Immortal sect and end the final war." Everyone in the Forgotten Immortal sect was stunned. The situation just now suddenly changed? Qin Ji took a deep breath and was shocked. Lin Yu didn't appear, but the current situation was obviously driven by him. Everyone in the Forgotten Immortal sect, attack the Flying Immortal sect. Qin Ji ordered. At the same time, Ling Feiyu smiled. Sure enough, Lin Yu didn't lie to her. Great Empress sect's 36 battleships, attack the Flying Immortal sect. Leave no one alive. The battle started again. Qin Ji stopped Yi Mingyue. Miss, where is he? Yi Mingyue pointed to the direction where the Blood Sea fell. He went there alone. Qin Ji was shocked. That's the direction of the Dao River. The Demon Lord is there. All of this is his trick, so Mr. Lin went to find the Demon Lord. Yi Mingyue could tell that Qin Ji was the person in charge here. Nonsense. Back then, Qin Ji had already fought with the Demon Lords once. Back then, the 4 Demon Lords had combined into one. Even Qin Ji had no way of fighting back against him. But Lin Yu now had to face not only the Demon Lord alone, but also the entire sea of demons. The Flying Immortal sect and Great Empress sect were originally working together to swallow the Forgotten Immortal sect and Crimson Firmament sect, but Mr. Lin set the Great Empress sect up. Now, the Forgotten Immortal sect can take care of the Flying Immortal sect first. Yi Mingyue added, "This is also Mr. Lin's idea. Idiot." Qin Ji's eyes were filled with tears. She didn't expect Lin Yu to return from the Night King city so quickly and even secretly save the Forgotten Immortal sect. I have to help him. Qin Ji was uneasy, and she really wanted to help Lin Yu immediately. Forgotten Immortal sect, listen to my order. Attack the Flying Immortal sect with all your might. Yi Mingyue nodded, and the 2 forces unleashed their full power. Taoist Fei quickly retreated, but under the desperate attacks of Ling Feiyu and the puppets, he quickly escaped with injuries. Now, who's the fisherman? Lu Wuhan laughed, and the phoenix spear accurately smashed down, directly hitting the shoulder of Taoist Fei, who was escaping in a panic. Boom! Taoist Fei crashed to the ground. Qin Ji raised her hand, and the divine Will Qi sword was formed again. Her eyes were filled with killing intent. Demon Lord's lackey. If he's injured, I'll bury the entire sea of demons with him. The Qi sword arrived in an instant. Taoist Fei wasn't good at divine will battles. Even if he dodged with his 8 suns transcendent realm cultivation, he was still injured. His divine will was still affected by the ruins of End Dream technique, and he paused for a moment. With this pause, the shocking hibernation sword and 2 heavenly derivation sword techniques had already shot over. Boom, boom, boom. Taoist Fei let out a violent cry of pain. Ling Feiyu came with injuries, and 7 sun phantoms rose into the sky. Her pretty face was filled with excitement. Master! Master who deserves to die by 1,000 blades, I'll send you to apologize to Brother Zhang right now. No. Taoist Fei died, and the Flying Immortal sect fell. On the other side, Zhang Balian, Long Lin, and the others worked together to kill He Dao. You think you can get me? Zhang Balian had always hated He Dao to the core. Now, this hatred was completely vented. At the same time, she dodged He Dao's storage ring and scanned it with her divine will. The Flying Immortal shoes that Lin Yu wanted were inside. The Flying Immortal sect fled everywhere. It was only a matter of time. Qin Ji ordered, Elder Lu, Elder Long, Elder Yang, Elder Xianyu, Sword Maniac, follow me to the Dao River. Chapter 70. Ling Feiyu wanted to stay behind to clean up the mess, so she lent a warship. Now that Lin Yu helped her get her revenge, she naturally knew that she should repay Lin Yu. Concubine Qin and the others stepped into the air and boarded the warship. Yi Mingyue and the puppet also followed, heading towards the Path River. At this moment, above the Path River, the scarlet seawater of the Sea of Demons had already merged with the Path River. A man who looked like a young master stood beside the Path River, looking at the churning blood water, and smiled evilly. The hindrances have been dealt with, and I've obtained the Nirvana fruit. So what if you're the Demon Emperor? I'm the real demon. Behind him, the 7 demon generals and hundreds of thousands of soldiers were all kneeling there, all exuding the aura of the transcendent realm. They were not so strong from the beginning, but the demon lord had temporarily increased their skills. Guard this place well. Don't let anyone in. Yes. The vertical pupils in the demon lord's eyes turned and locked onto a certain place in the Path River. His human form instantly exploded, turning into a pool of blood water, and directly merged into the Path River. In today's world, only I can enter the Path River directly before the Hongmeng duel begins. Although the churning Path River was named as a river, it was actually like a huge black sea. Especially now, the originally emerald green river water and the scarlet blood sea had already mixed together. This place was named as a river, but it was bigger than an ocean. After the demon lord entered the Path River, he quickly locked onto a direction. It was a dilapidated wooden boat that stopped at the bottom of the Path River. The wooden boat seemed to have been there for a long time, and a horrifying sense of time pressed on one's mind. Greetings to the boatman. The blood shield technique returned to its human form. The demon lord stepped on the wooden boat and bowed. On the wooden boat, there was an old man wearing a straw cape and a bamboo hat. His old hands were covered with blood vessels. At this moment, he was holding a long stick and stirring the soil at the bottom of the Path River. From afar, it looked like a lone boat being rowed by a man in a straw hat. Who's disturbing? After a long time, the boatman replied. The wooden paddle in his hand was still stirring, and the wooden boat seemed to be moving on the water surface. My name is Luoho. Demon Lord Luoho continued. I'm here to take the boatman away. You're not a human, the boatman said indifferently. Luoho gritted his teeth as a vicious look flashed through his eyes. He hated it the most when people said that. The boatman continued, but on the path of the great Tao, whether or not one is human is not important. When Luoho heard this, he calmed down. The boatman is right. Let's go. With that said, he was already impatient and wanted to reach out to grab the boatman. However, a terrifying vibrating force suddenly came from the boatman's body. Rahu clenched his fists and quickly retreated a few steps. In the sky above the Dao River, the river water directly soared into the sky. Luoho narrowed his eyes slightly and saw that the mud at the bottom of the Path River was surging up. If he had been a little slower just now, he would have been seriously injured. Rahu immediately clasped his fists and said, Junior was rash. The boatman ignored him and continued to paddle. The restless Tao River returned to its calm state the moment the oars moved. Only then did the boatman say, "I was trapped by the great Tao, my obsession was fruitless. I couldn't see through the great Tao, I couldn't get out of the Tao River. Damn it." Luo Ho was well aware that this was a test of his Tao heart. At this moment, in the sky above the Tao River, a man and an ape suddenly appeared. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back, looking down at the sky. He was immediately surrounded by the 7 demon generals. Trespassers die. Lin Yu said to the ape lightly, "Give me the Qiankuan staff, and I'll give them to you." Simple and clear, the ape had already attacked the 7 demon generals. Where did this stupid monkey come from? A transcendent realm demon general sneered, but in the next moment, his chest was directly penetrated by a fist force. Damn it, so fast. The rest of the demon generals were shocked and looked at the ape in shock. The cold aura of the unyielding realm. The demon general who spoke first did not even have the chance to react. His entire person had already become an ice sculpture. Lin Yu ignored these. Holding the Qiankuan staff in his hand, it suddenly became bigger. It's time to move the mountain and fill the sea. The Tao River was not ordinary water. The water contained the Nirvana fruits Tao, and the human body could not open it at all. The demon master could use the blood shield technique to enter the Tao River. Lin Yu also knew about that inhuman method, but there was no way to practice it. So, he needed a way to open the Tao River. The extinguishing Qiankuan staff and scorching desert were the methods. At this moment, the giant staff blasted over, stirring up the air waves that stirred the sky. The entire Tao River surged up and was directly split into 2 halves. All the sea monster army attacked Lin Yu, and a sudden change occurred. At this moment, the ape let out a loud roar, and the sound waves swept across the world. 30% of the sea monster army directly exploded and died. Unyielding realm demon beast. Kill him first. Lin Yu saw the Tao River split into 2 halves, and the scene at the bottom of the river entered his eyes at the same time. Sure enough, the demon master had found the boatman. How can I be left out of the discussion? Lin Yu raised the corner of his mouth. The scorching desert was released from the Qiankuan staff at the same time, directly sucking the river that was about to recover. The entire Tao River became a muddy land. Everyone in the sea monster army was shocked. This was the power to move the mountain and fill the sea. Just as Luo Ho was about to discuss Tao, he raised his hand at the same time, and 3 streaks of blood light shot out towards Lin Yu. With a whoosh, Lin Yu was instantly enveloped by black fire and split into 4. 3 of them were locked onto by the bloodlight, while the 4th had already circled around and approached the Tao River. The black fire turned into a human form and stepped out. Luo Ho squinted his eyes. He did not expect this person to have such a powerful Tao technique when his cultivation was only at the first ignition of the chakra realm. That was Lin Yu's Great Sun Tao technique's second move, Infernal God Clone. Lin Yu stepped onto the wooden boat in the blink of an eye and bowed to the boatman. Junior Lin Yu greets the boatman. The boatman nodded and did not speak. At this moment, Luo Ho knew he could not make a move in front of the boatman. He immediately said, "The Great Tao is the limit. As long as one reaches the limit of cultivation, no one in the world can match him. The limit is the end of the Great Tao. The Great Tao has its limit." The boatman's voice was heard. Lin Yu did not speak. Luo Ho continued, "Countless years ago, the limit of the Great Tao was the 9 thearchs. In the era of the emperors they were the Great Tao of the universe." Luo Ho continued, "Their Great Tao was passed down, and their descendants could also reach the level of the 9 thearchs. If the boatman trusts me, I will be the new Great Tao of the 9 thearchs." The boatman fell into deep thought again, as if he was pondering over Luo Ho's words. For a long time, he did not make a sound. Clearly, He was in a state of confusion. Lin Yu could not help but laugh. Why is the Nine Thearchs a great Tao? Luo Ho squinted his eyes. His eyes were like two sharp blades. The Nine Thearchs were the limit of the Tao back then. They were invincible. How can they not be a great Tao? Invincibility back then was a great Tao. Lin Yu touched his chin and paced around Luo Ho. Luo Ho did not feel good. No one had ever dared to get so close to him. If a normal person's Tao heart was not firm, at such a close distance, it was very likely that they would be controlled by his demonic nature and listen to his orders. However, Lin Yu seemed to be indifferent to his demonic nature. Suddenly, Luo Ho was shocked. Lin Yu patted his shoulder. When Luo Ho wanted to resist, he heard Lin Yu's laughter. The Nine Thearchs were only the strongest people in the era of the emperors. They did not necessarily represent the great Tao. Chapter 71. The boatman stopped thinking and listened as Lin Yu continued. The extreme might not be the great Tao. Moreover, the extreme back then was what the Nine Thearchs learned, which included all the martial arts in the universe. This is true. However, the lost martial arts before the Nine Thearchs came from even more ancient Tao technique. The Nine Thearchs might not know about them. On the contrary, after the Nine Thearchs, even if their descendants did not learn everything the Nine Thearchs knew, they would not be able to learn new martial arts since the Nine Thearchs had already fallen. Luo Ho was shocked. Lin Yu smiled and concluded, "How can you represent the great Tao if you don't have any predecessors and successors?" The boatman and Luo Ho were stunned and could not speak for a long time. It was their first time hearing someone criticize the Nine Thearchs. However, Lin Yu's words were reasonable. "Lin Yu, your name is Lin Yu." The boatman laughed in relief. Luo Ho felt uneasy and said, "If that's the case, what do you think is the great Tao?" He did not believe that Lin Yu could explain it. However, Lin Yu stood in front of him and looked into his eyes. He suddenly smiled. "Your bloodline is very pure. You are a true descendant of the demon emperors. No wonder you dared to touch the 7 Yi demon emperors' things." Luo Ho was shocked. "Who are you?" Lin Yu did not answer him. Luo Ho had already lost this debate, but Lin Yu wanted to win beautifully. He cupped his fists and said to the boatman, "I will divide the great Tao into 3 stages. Do you have time to listen? Please speak." The boatman raised his hand and did not hesitate this time. He had existed for too long. In this endless and lonely Tao river, he could not feel the passage of time at all. Therefore, he always answered very slowly. He had never asked Lin Yu so anxiously like he did now. The Tao of the past, the Tao of the present, and the Tao of the future. When the 3 Taos combine, it becomes the great Tao. Lin Yu stood with his hands behind his back. When he said this, he emitted a Tao light. To us, the era of the 9 emperors is the great Tao of the past, but not the present or the future. Lin Yu continued, "Compared to those from the era of imperial lineage, the 9 emperors are the Tao of the present. Those before them were the Tao of the past, while we are the Tao of the future." The boatman looked at Lin Yu as if he suddenly understood. "Continue." Killing intent flashed in Luo Ho's eyes. With one hand behind his back, demonic energy quietly gathered. Lin Yu turned around and faced Luo Ho. With his palm behind him, the grand sun primordial flame began to gather. Using the great Tao of the past to merge with the great Tao of the present to form the great Tao of the future. Of course, this is an ideal situation. There might not be such a person in the world who can combine 3 Taos into one. The boatman nodded and smiled for the first time. Summing up the past, comprehending the present, and seeing the future, Mr. has already entered the realm of 3 elements in one. You might be the first person to merge 3 Taos into one. Lin Yu knew that the time was up. He saluted the boatman. The paddle stopped, and the wooden boat, which had been moving all this time, seemed to have stopped at its original position. The beginning is the end. The end is the beginning. Lin Yu seemed to have understood something. Thank you, Brahma. Mister, you know everything. The boatman was surprised at first, but he quickly understood. He stopped talking and put down the paddle. Soon, he seemed to be bathed in Tao light. The Tao light was blinding. Everyone closed their eyes. When they opened them again, they saw that the boatman had turned into a palm-sized golden fruit. The moment the fruit appeared, light burst out again, as if illuminating the entire Tao river. That was the nirvana fruit. The boatman was the nirvana fruit. Lin Yu did not take the nirvana fruit. Instead, he suddenly threw a palm behind him. At the same time, Luo Ho also threw a punch. Blood Demon Arts. 3 elements in 1. Lin Yu combined his divine will, battle physique, and glory chi into a palm that directly collided with Demon Lord Luo Ho. The ripples spread out, and the wooden boat was instantly turned into ashes. Cracking sounds could be heard in the space around them. Lin Yu took a step back, and Luo Ho did the same. He kicked again, and Lin Yu also turned around and kicked. Boom! The 2 legs collided. Luo Ho's leg was as red as blood, but Lin Yu's black flames erupted. The second move was launched, but the outcome was still undecided. Damn it! Luo Ho did not expect this person to be so powerful. There was no one in the Hongmeng continent that he could take seriously. At the same time, Lin Yu gave him a sense of familiarity. In the nick of time, Luo Ho directly took the nirvana fruit and stepped into the air. Have you forgotten about your broken arm? Lin Yu's voice sounded. Luo Ho's expression changed. Even if he had the ability to regenerate, he still remembered that an expert suddenly appeared when he was killing Qin Ji. It's you. Luo Ho paused. At this moment, the first move of the Great Sun Dao art was launched at Lin Yu's fingertips. A black flame transformed into a spear. It was Hua Shinchong. Whoosh. Luo Ho felt a sharp pain. The black flame came from Shumi Supreme's Dao art, and it was unbreakable. Luo Ho's arm was cut off again. He grabbed the nirvana fruit with his other hand, but on the other side, Lin Yu had already pulled. At the same time, he pulled. With a crack, the nirvana fruit broke into 2. Dao light shone brightly. Lin Yu and Luo Ho pulled apart the distance between them again. In the sky, the forgotten immortal sex people had all arrived. The 7 demon generals of the Sea of Monsters and Demons were all defeated by Yuan Ho and the others. Damn it! Luo Ho saw that the situation was not good and fled with half of the nirvana fruit. Lin Yu looked up, but he was not looking in Luo Ho's direction. There, Qin Ji and the others were already waiting for him. Lin Yu was looking at the sky. Suddenly, black fog rolled. The black fog was not an ordinary cloud. It gave people a feeling of purgatory. Something interesting is coming. Lin Yu stopped looking at the sky and lowered his head to swallow half of the nirvana fruit. At the same time, the true sun fire burned all over his body. The nirvana fruit melted into Lin Yu's energy center. The terrifying power of the divine item filled his energy center. Lin Yu coughed out blood and felt a sharp pain in his abdomen. He could explode and die at any time. The body of a mortal can't swallow divine items immediately. Lin Yu activated his 3rd elemental realm cultivation to suppress the power of the nirvana fruit. At the same time, his cultivation level kept increasing. 2 ignition wheel ignition, 3 ignition wheel ignition, 4 ignition wheel ignition. In his energy center, the lamp that symbolized the samsara realm kept burning. I have to take it easy. If I break through again, my foundation will be damaged. Lin Yu was shocked to realize that not only his cultivation level, but even his body and divine will had broken through to 4 ignition wheel ignition under the terrifying power of the nirvana fruit. Lin Yu suppressed it forcefully. The true sun fire shrouded his energy center and surrounded the nirvana fruit. I can only seal it for now. Lin Yu could no longer sense the aura of the nirvana fruit. He stepped into the air. His foundation was still damaged. The power of the divine item was too strong. At this moment, Luo Ho carried half of the Nirvana fruit. Long Lin, Lu Wuhan, Sword Fanatic, and Yang Qing appeared around him. 4 sides killing formation. The 4 of them shouted. During this time, Lin Yu had left them the 4 sides killing formation. They had already made some progress. 2 streaks of sword chi, 1 streak of saber will, and 1 streak of spear wind formed a trapping formation in all directions. Luo Ho, of course, knew that he could not delay any longer. When he lifted his head and was about to break through the air, Qin Ji had already raised her hands. The 9th level of the Great Dream Technique formed a terrifying shadow and fell down. Chapter 72. Boom. Luo Ho retreated quickly, dodging Qin Ji's divine consciousness attack. However, he was trapped by the 5 of them and could not escape. On the other side, Xian Yu saw that the Devil Lord was trapped. Everything seemed to have been planned by Lin Yu. He immediately realized that he had been tricked. You are not the emissary. He finally understood that he had been tricked by Lin Yu from the beginning. He had worked for him to deal with the Crimson Heaven Pavilion. Now, even the Devil Lord had fallen into Lin Yu's hands. Damn it! Xian Yu's sudden attack, directly taking out the Soul Chaotic banner. This change was also unexpected to the others. With a boom, the demonic shadow on the Soul Disruption banner reverberated. Yang Qing and Sword Addict were the first to be affected. Both of them retreated at the same time. When Xian Yu wanted to attack again, he saw a scarlet line appear on his chest again. Isn't it good to be a good person? Lin Yu's cold voice sounded. Xian Yu felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. In the next moment, his heart exploded. Xian Yu had become a corpse. Lin Yu stepped into the air. Luo Ho stared at him seriously. Blood sacrifice heart refinement. You are also a demonic cultivator. Lin Yu shrugged. There is no demonic path. It is both good and evil. I am me. How can a mere demonic path tolerate me? Luo Ho's killing intent reappeared. He planned to fight to the death with Lin Yu. However, Lin Yu raised his hand. You can leave. Everyone was stunned. Even if Yi Mingwei and the others knew Lin Yu well, they did not know what he meant. Devil Lord Luo Ho had schemed against the Forgotten Celestial, Crimson Heaven, Flying Celestial, and Empress Sex. He had activated the Primordial Divinity chart and entered the Tao River in advance. Those who had died were all his fault. However, Lin Yu wanted to let him go at this moment? Leave or die. Lin Yu spoke again. He raised his hand and Yi Mingwei immediately handed him a handkerchief. After getting rid of Xian Yu, Lin Yu had dirted his hands. At this moment, he was carefully wiping them. Luo Ho stared at Lin Yu with his vertical pupils. Only now did he realize what kind of opponent he was facing. He disregarded human life even more than he did. Interesting, too interesting. Luo Ho roared loudly, and then he didn't hesitate any longer and took a step forward. Wait, I've done something wrong, so I have to leave something behind. At this moment, Lin Yu pointed a finger, and a scarlet line of blood instantly entered Rahu's heart. Blood-refining heart sacrifice, damn it. Luo Ho cursed in his heart, but he didn't listen to his footsteps. Instead, he sensed the aura that was about to arrive in the sky. He didn't dare to stay any longer and left at full speed. No one in the Forgotten Immortal sect dared to disobey Lin Yu's order. They watched as Luo Ho stepped into the air and left the Hongmeng continent. Lin Yu stared at the sky. Suddenly, the black fog spread out and covered the entire sky. A pair of eyes suddenly appeared from the black fog. What is that? Terrifying, what kind of existence is coming to our place? The pair of eyes was incomparably cold, and they were as huge as the sun. After staring at the Hongmeng continent for a long time, the eyeballs moved rapidly, and it seemed to have locked onto a direction. Then, it left abruptly. The terrifying pair of eyes disappeared into the sky, and everyone's tense atmosphere eased a little. Lin Yu shrugged. If we didn't let Luo Ho go, Qi Yi would be looking for us. Qin Ji said loudly, Qi Yi. Qi Yi Demon Emperor. Lin Yu nodded and everyone gasped again. They finally understood why Lin Yu wanted to let Luo Ho go. What is Qi Yi Demon Emperor looking for? Qin Ji was still worried. Lin Yu approached her and whispered in a voice that only the two of them could hear, You came here covered in dust. Are you worried about Qi Yi Demon Emperor? Qin Ji naturally understood what he meant. Seeing everyone panting, she looked at Lin Yu reproachfully. Of course, it's for you. It's too risky. That demon lord is at least a 9 suns transcendent realm. Lin Yu nodded and coughed out a mouthful of blood. Demon lord was indeed different. His cultivation speed was also much faster than ordinary people. Lin Yu was sure that demon lord wasn't this strong the last time they fought. You're injured? Qin Ji was shocked. Not only her, but Yang Qing, sword fanatic, Yi Mingyue, Long Lin, and the others also surrounded him. It's okay. Let's go back. You just exchanged 2 moves with Demon Lord, and you still managed to snatch something from him? Qin Ji supported Lin Yu, and Yi Mingyue supported Lin Yu on the other side. Lin Yu could only feel a fragrance coming from his left and right. Exchanged 2 moves with a 9 suns transcendent realm, and you even snatched something? Lu Wuhan swallowed his saliva and looked at Lin Yu in disbelief. When they fought against Demon Lord just now, they could only hold him back with the combined strength of 5 people. They weren't confident of winning. However, Lin Yu dared to exchange moves with Demon Lord with his Samsara realm cultivation alone. Now, he even managed to escape unscathed? Little Sacred King, you're amazing. Long Lin couldn't help but admire. Lu Wuhan quickly nodded. He had never heard Long Lin praise anyone. Open a path, let's go back. Lin Yu said. He was too lazy to explain so much. It was scary enough to be on par with Demon Lord. If he explained that his current injuries weren't caused by Demon Lord, but he forcefully swallowed the Nirvana fruit. Now that the terrifying power was suppressed in his body, it would cause an even bigger commotion. Lin Yu decided to remain silent. He enjoyed the care of Qin Ji and the other beauties. He directly boarded the warship and returned to Forgotten Immortal Sect. We've won this battle. On the warship, Qin Ji reported to Lin Yu like a subordinate. Empress Sect, and we have dealt with Flying Immortal Sect. We are now waiting at Forgotten Immortal Sect. Empress Ling Feiyu sent a voice transmission. She seems to want to help. Lin Yu nodded. Qin Ji suddenly felt that the relationship between Lin Yu and Ling Feiyu seemed to be a little fishy. Otherwise, why would the Empress, a sect master, care so much about Lin Yu unless it was like her relationship with Lin Yu? Let her wait at Forgotten Immortal Sect. There's no need for her to come. Lin Yu ordered. Qin Ji nodded and went down to send a voice transmission. Lin Yu turned his head. Yi Mingyue held his hand tightly the whole time. What's wrong? Yi Mingyue's bright eyes were filled with tears. Her beautiful face gave people a feeling of pity. She said with a choked voice, I'm afraid that you'll die. Lin Yu smiled. I won't die. I've died many times. What? Don't scare me. Yi Mingyue had no relatives in the Hongmeng continent. Lin Yu was her only support. How could she not be afraid? That's not what I meant. Don't worry. Everything is under control. The death Lin Yu was talking about was naturally the death and failure that he had experienced over 30 million years. Every step he took now seemed risky, but it was actually done after careful consideration. Did you lure the 7 Yi Demon Emperor away because the Nirvana fruit is in the hands of the Demon Master? Yi Mingyue asked. Lin Yu nodded. To be precise, a small Nirvana fruit is with him. A small Nirvana fruit? Yi Mingyue naturally didn't see the chaotic battle scene. It was already a miracle for Lin Yu to be able to escape unscathed from the 9 Suns Transcendent Realm Demon Master. Lin Yu held her hand and placed it on his stomach. At this moment, Yi Mingyue felt that she was facing an ocean-like wave of glory aura. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.